I just want you to answer this real quick before we move on. Are you telling me I'm not gonna go the pallet conspiracy route? That's not. Are you telling me in the second biggest city in the nation during the time of unrest that people aren't going to be able to find hard objects like broken concrete and bricks to throw?
You really think that's what I just? Is that what your takeaway is from what I just said?
That is a crazy ass question. Where do you even find a brick,
the
bro?
point of me saying where do you even find a brick is that a normal person isn't going to throw a brick through a window, bro. It's the point is that if you want to throw a brick through a window, you actually have to be intent on that crime. You can't accidentally throw a brick through a window. You have to go through and look for it. Okay, that's the point.
All right? Look for it. That's not in a city where there's concrete.
Do you think this is an own, bro? Do you think you're getting a dub here?
Stupid.
Welcome, everyone, to another Wick and Tolly show. Tolly, why don't you take it away? Go ahead.
Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in. We have a great conversation and great lineup ready for you today. We have Ahrelevant and Admiral Gibbs, is that right, Mr. Gibbs? Here today to discuss the ever unfolding protests and or riots going on in LA. We're going to talk about the deportations and the ICE handling of deportations and sort of how that leads up to this. And hopefully this will be a nice raucous conversation. So gentlemen, would you like to introduce yourselves, starting with Ahrelevant?
Yeah, I am Ahrelevant, Relevant on all platforms. I personally, this is my introduction, like my my landing thing for like what I believe. Okay, I believe that the LA protests have been conducted in a relatively peaceful manner. I actually even like the LAPD's response with the protests and stuff. I think the deployment of the California National Guard was illegitimate. The California Supreme Court seemed to agree with me. And then also Trump backed out, Taco Trump yet again. So I think this is a pretty cooked conversation already at jump. I think Trump cooked you, but go ahead.
Gibbs. Give us what you got.
I'm AdmiralGibbs. I'm a business owner and rancher here in San Antonio, Texas, and got property all over Texas. And I am very pro the deportations that have been happening. I've been a big fan. I think that the Dems have gifted the Republicans possibly the midterms now, when I thought for sure there was no way that the Republicans had a chance to keep them. But, nothing's better, I think, for publicity-wise, than to have people using American flags as tinder while they stand on top of cars waving a foreign national country's flag. We've had tons of arrests. I think it's up to 200 now of the people who've been arrested turns out, were illegals with violent crimes. Things that had been going on. It's wild. I can't understand how people would hate America this much, that would like to see their fellow man and business owners in their local areas have their businesses burned down because, oh, we're going to enforce the law. It's crazy. And, Trump, maybe did back down off position a little bit. I'm sure we're going to talk about it. I want all deportations done. I feel a little betrayed. And hopefully we as Republicans can hold his feet to the fire and get that done. But in the interim, this is what the lefties wanted. He said he's going to go only after the criminals. So I don't see why they're bitching. If anything, it gives us the win, because now he's going to do what y'all wanted. Y'all have no excuse for when ICE comes knocking.
Okay, and with that, let's get into it, right? So I want to start with you, Ahrelevant, right? Because you said this has been a mostly peaceful protest. You're pretty okay with that. Look, we can say the majority of it is peaceful, but surely you would cede that there have been some bad actors in there. I've seen videos and footage of them burning Waymos. I don't even know how to fucking say those things. The robo taxis, right?
Yep.
And I've seen the people throwing objects off scooters, bricks, rocks, produce off an overpass and breaking up cop cars. All these things, trapping cops under an overpass. Surely that's not peaceful, correct?
Yeah, of course, and they belong in prison, and many of them have been arrested and will be charged. I believe that as of, what was it, last Friday, or not last Friday, maybe it was last Sunday or something, there had been 200 arrests of various different bad actors inside of the protests, and like I said in the intro, I support for the most part what the LAPD is even doing. They seem to be trying to congregate them to exclusively the zones where they're permitted to protest, trying to push them out of certain areas. And maybe even I could break bread with the argument that maybe they should be doing a little bit more to like get people off the highways and stuff like that. But for the most part, they're doing a pretty good job. Have arrested hundreds of people, or in the process of probably arresting hundreds more. And yeah, I think that those people should be straight up in prison. The people who are throwing bricks and stuff off of the highway and trying to assault officers. Yeah, they should be in prison.
No, that makes sense. Well, Gibbs, given that the LAPD does, well, first of all, would you agree with the assessment from Ahrelevant here that the LAPD largely has it under control, has been able to keep the peace relatively well and arrest protesters that get out of hand and get violent and destructive? Do you agree with that framing?
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that framing in the least. I'm going to start with a little broad, and then I'll narrow it back down to exactly the specific topic, right, that we're talking about, right? So I've grown up, and this reason this issue is important to me is because I've grown up my whole life with people that I know dying to cartel violence, like long time, right? And people act like, oh, it's just the cartel. So whenever they come and they raid, like, you know, I don't know, Lupita, who's a hard worker at like a sewing shop, people are like, oh, how dare they go after them? Well, what they don't realize is this person is paying the coyotes after they get here a portion of it their own. They sometimes have to answer to these people who know all their social information, who provided their social information with their fake paperwork. The cartels continuously use these people. These people aren't just innocent. These people are victims, but they're also allowing the cartels to continue. And that's part of the reason why the hospitality workers not being included, the farmers not being included, is a problem with what Trump said. Now, specifically for the LA riots, right? We come down and we look. We see a lot of violent criminals that have been let go and previous incidents have been arrested. That's why they're being. That's what happened. We're seeing it when you say, "Oh, LA was doing all these things." No, the reason why we need to send the National Guard in is because business owners were sitting here watching their businesses burn to the ground. I dare you to find me one person who pays taxes to this nation, especially a state like California that pays tons of taxes, that's going to sit here and be okay with people burning down their businesses and going, "Oh, hey, you know, it's for the cause." No, they're going to go, "Where's my police protection?" And they're going to be like,
Is this the back and forth section? Can I interrupt?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's the back and forth.
When you have the police just holding one area,
democratically elected governor. You have the democratically elected governor and the mayor.
I literally got
Bro,
one more
you're ranting. You made like 5 points. You made like 5 points. You made like 5 points, homie.
Hold on, just on one point, and it's done. Then you give it one. I'm sorry. Listen, listen. You get business owners, and the LAPD is only backing up certain areas. Yeah, you know what? It's not an escalation to send troops into the guard federal buildings so the LAPD can expand their zone of control. Do you disagree with that assessment?
Yeah, because you need the governor's permission.
Cool.
You need the I disagree with it. You need the governor's permission to be able to deploy to commandeer the National Guard. Yeah, the California Supreme Court ruled that.
Lyndon B. Johnson sent it down into Alabama during the Civil Rights Movement. Are you saying that?
So are you saying the California Supreme Court just doesn't understand the law?
I'm saying that, yeah, maybe.
You understand the law better than the California Supreme Court.
I'm not going to pretend I do, but I'm saying there is precedent before when we sent people in there to stop the Democrats once again when they were protesting.
You need governor support. You need the support of local politicians to be able to deploy the state National Guard. That's the idea. And so you gave an example of multiple different businesses being burnt down. Can you give me 2 businesses that were burnt down?
Oh, yeah, there's 21 listed is what I saw in the last thing. I have a source here for that. This will be about 2 seconds. I'll pick it up and post it in the group chat. Sure. So give me one moment. But yeah, there's been 21 businesses listed last time I looked in LA.
That were looted or burnt down?
Well, looted, burnt down, vandalized, doesn't matter. All sorts of things.
Oh, it does matter. Okay, so we're counting tagging on the side of the building. Okay, because I'd rather have the side of my building. I'd rather have the side of my building tagged than it entirely be burnt down.
So
this
you're just
perception.
not good faith at all. You're just okay with
really?
business.
No, you do gotta let him respond. Hold on, Gibbs. You do gotta let him respond.
Words don't matter. Okay, it was burnt down is the same as it getting tagged on the side of it. Listen, I'm not saying that there isn't violence or there isn't crazy shit happening. What I'm saying is just stick to the facts. Don't say buildings burnt down if they didn't burn down. Just give me the hard numbers. Give me the hard facts. That's all I want. So when you say multiple businesses burned down, and I just say, okay, give me 2, and then you're gonna give me a list of some that unduly had vandalism happen or windows break down. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is burnt down, exactly what you said. So
Okay,
just stick to what actually happened. Don't
Okay.
make stuff up.
Well, listen, this is just ticky-tack bullshit is what you're doing right here. You're
It's
going,
not.
oh, burnt down. Listen, we've all watched Destiny. We all know you can try to pick out one word and try to go from there. Yeah, burnt down. I've talked about business owners losing their livelihood, having their property damaged, all these different things. And you're like, well,
You
burnt
just said
down.
you-
Listen, I will find the thing in a second. I'm looking through my things.
You said you owned a ranch, right?
I do own a ranch, yeah.
Okay, would you
I've had
rather I
property
burn down
damage
your
to it.
ranch or I tag it on the side with ACAB? Which one would you prefer?
I'd rather neither one of those fucking things happen. How
Okay,
about
no,
that?
you have to pick and choose. Which one would you rather? Your entire ranch be burnt down or have it be tagged on the side with
Probably the burnt
ACAB?
down because at least then I could catch
Okay.
get
And
insurance.
you think I'm dishonest? Come on, bro. Come
Well, I mean,
on,
if you're
bro.
being honest,
You'd
you could be-
rather your whole business get
I
burnt
can
down
claim it,
than
I can claim it
graffiti
as a
get
loss
tagged
for
on the side,
insurance.
bro.
I have assets, but you're acting
Why
like
would
this
you
is
say
just
that on
fine.
the line, bro? Come on,
sure.
nobody believes that. Nobody
If you
believes
hold
that.
on, what are you saying? Are you saying that this is not attacking
I
the
would
mob
say
you
that
gotta
any
make it
human
burn
being
down?
who
Fuck you,
owns
first
property
buddy.
would
Get
rather
real,
somebody
bro.
graffiti
Come on.
a fucking ACAB on the side of it than have it entirely burned down. And every single human being who's watching this agrees with me. There's not a single person who
okay.
thinks you're being honest. Not one.
I mean, listen. I mean, it all depends on your financial situation and your insurance situation. That's the
What
truth. of the matter.
situation is burning your house?
What insurance?
What are
Was
you
the
trying
insurance
to
going to pay for your tagging to get
commit
fixed?
insurance fraud? What are you doing?
No,
Oh,
it's not
man,
insurance
my
fraud if you're
business is
committing
totally
arson, buddy.
unprofitable.
If you're
Thank
committing
God for those
arson, is
people
that
burning
fraud?
it down for that
If you're
insurance
committing-
claim.
committing arson, is that insurance fraud? No, buddy.
We
That's
will
arson.
have
Insurance
we will
covers
have a
arson.
little order in this
You
court.
agree.
I love the energy. I love the back and forth, but I do have to clarify, right? Assuming that you aren't trying to get insurance money for burning the house
Oh,
down.
hold
right?
on. He said arson. That's not insurance fraud. To be clear.
I'm not saying that it is.
It's still a pretty obscene statement that you would rather have to
Let me
rebuild
ask
your
you, Sam.
business from scratch
Let
than
me
have
ask
to
you, Sal,
scrub
let me
off
ask you a
some.
question. All right, so say
Go ahead.
I have insurance on my business and they burn it down
Yes.
and I collect all the money on it. Okay, that's arson. I collect all the money. I'm able to re-up my business, maybe even build better, because they're going to give it based off current values. That could be different based off property values increasing, et cetera, et cetera. Now, say I get all that money back. I get to do something. I restart. However, what I can't cover on insurance is I have to go pay people to come down in there and clean off this graffiti. I have to come pay people to like fix the vandalized stuff.
Sure.
They
How about
tore out.
Sure.
Like,
How about loss of income? How about loss of income for the year plus
Something
that
else
it
you
might
can
take
claim.
you to rebuild your business?
I mean, that's something else you could claim. There's
You
all
could be
sorts of
open
ways
the
around
next
it.
day, have a couple volunteers down there standing with you,
I mean,
right, to
I'm
clean
just
off
saying
the
it's
side of your
situational.
building.
This is not as clear cut as you're trying
I
to make
know,
it out.
I know. As a business owner, I would be shit out of luck if the walls of my business burned to the ground. I would much rather some petty vandalism, though I wouldn't like either of those things, and I would have deep resentments for the hooligans in my neighborhood who were vandalizing my business. But I certainly would not want it to burn down, in which case I would not be able to pay my employees for the entire time that we're rebuilding. So that to me seems like a loss you didn't have to take there, but that's just me.
I mean, that's fine. You can think that. It's all situational. I mean, regardless, he's trying to argue one word ticky-tack thing over burnt down, vandalized. But it's really clear.
Vandalizing versus burning businesses down. This is a big difference.
Listen, when we looked at Black Lives Matter protests, it cost $20 billion in damage, like over the next 20 years. The estimate. This year's hasn't even finished yet. We're about to see even more of it on Saturday with this No Kings thing in 2,000 cities across America. It's crazy that you're going to sit here and go, "Oh, it's totally fine. These business owners getting fucked is no big deal," and then try to
When
like
did I ever
debate
say
me. And then you're
When
trying to
did I ever
debate
say
me
that?
here about
I just
insurance
said
fraud,
don't make
which
up
is talking
lies.
about
That's all I
arson.
said.
I'm not making up a lie
I
at
care
all. I'm just
about,
saying
like I
facts.
said
You're the
earlier
one
with the
who's lying.
LAPD, I
You're
support
the one who
the
said it's
arrests
mostly
of the
peaceful over here.
vandalizers, the looters, and stuff like this. And also, to be clear, there's a lot of people inside of the protests who support routing out the looters. You've seen there's many different videos of protesters excising looters out of businesses and out of their protests because they don't want them there. This idea that the protesters all are in support of the looters and the rioters is totally the opposite of the case. I'm just saying facts matter. If you want to say there has been businesses that have been looted, livelihoods that very well might have been destroyed over this, then that absolutely, I can shake hands with you. But this idea that it's like near the tier of BLM stuff or near the tier of January 6th, which I'm sure we're going to get into comparisons to January 6th. Well, I would say that Trump's total capitulation is going to make a lot of people view the LA protests as not as pressing of an issue, maybe in comparison to what you brought up, the No Kings
When
protest.
you Irrelevant, if I may ask, you say Trump's total capitulation. As I understand it, and maybe you're referring to something else, he still has Marines deployed there, correct?
Correct.
He still has the National Guard deployed to California.
Yeah, what I'm referring to.
In what way is that
Tweet. You're referring to a
capitulation?
tweet. That doesn't mean anything.
No, I'm talking about the tweet and the subsequent press conference and answering questions about him saying, actually, we need to dial back these raids on undocumented migrants, and we need to take a. I'm almost finished.
Let him finish, please.
On these undocumented migrants, and we need to look after our agricultural sector and our what is it? The hotel leisure hotel sector. Very convenient that he owns a luxury hotel while he makes that statement. I want it tracked. Has there been any illegal immigrants arrested who work for Trump in his hotels? I don't know. I'd be curious about that. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about, is the dialing back, the significant dialing back, as to create, like, even amongst his MAGA base, a significant fervor against him about, hey, I thought undocumented immigrants, regardless of circumstance, need to be arrested. No, he recognizes the things that the libs have been saying for well over a decade. You can't arrest all of the undocumented immigrants unless you want our agricultural sector to completely fall apart. This is beyond the humanity of tearing away undocumented people from their families. This, beyond all of that, just the economics doesn't make sense. You can't square the circle.
Well, it's real simple. Let me tell you something. We're going to sit here and read into what Trump's doing. Let me tell you, if we're going to do the reading of the tea leaves, I'm not going to listen to a Democrat who had terrible predictions, who've been falling into the polls. I actually have 3 of Trump's books behind me displayed. I have several other Trump's books read over here, read in the paperback. I feel like I'm pretty in depth with the Trump 4D chess style he's got going on. Listen, I already said I felt betrayed by him backing off some on these issues. However, I'm happy with the progress that's getting made thus far. He's still got the Marines there. We haven't seen any executive orders. All this could just be 4D chess in the media, seeing what happens. He's a populist. He tests the waters. We've seen him do this 1,000 times, and to sit here and go, oh, he's capitulated while he's still got Marines and National Guard on the ground in case of this being done is ridiculous. And just
so the idea, what are the people in LA protesting over?
I don't know. You tell me. What do you think they're protesting? You know what? They're
protesting
over. They're protesting over Oompa Loompas working in Charlie's Chocolate Factory. What the fuck do you think they're protesting?
No, I'm actually asking you. What do you think they're protesting over?
What do you think they're protesting?
Why do you think this makes you look good? I'm asking you a very basic question.
You're asking a real stupid question. We all know they're protesting over immigration.
Well, if it's stupid, just answer it.
I just did. It's obviously over immigration and how it's being enforced. It's the Oompa Loompas and Charlie's Chocolate Factory. That's about as serious as this question is.
It's really not. It's about it's about the crackdown on undocumented immigrants and how the manner in which the Trump administration is going about getting them deported. It's about them coming into communities and not having a regard for the law, not having a regard for decorum, about ripping them out of their communities. That's what these protests are about. And there was a significant backtracking on the deportations. He even went through, and in his speeches, I'm not sure if you saw some of the speeches, he used the same exact rhetoric that Democrats have been using for God knows how long, which is like, hey, bro, if you're in this country for 20 plus years, you haven't caused issues, we kind of don't want to deport you. Guess what? He's just mimicking the exact same things that Democrats have been saying for a long time. Why would we deport a hardworking, tax-paying person who pays into Social Security, who benefits, who boons the country, who has no criminal history, who probably has a family? Why would we deport you? Let's figure out a way to get you the resources you need to become legalized. Because 20 plus years, man, we got to get this ball rolling. That's the idea. These people are often in those categories, and in the specific group that he's referring to, these people are often more beneficial to the country.
Hold on. If he's doing everything you asked, then what you're really just proving is all these people protesting are being hypocrites. He's giving you exactly what you want.
What I just said is he
protest and riot. No. That's just hypocrisy. Even when he does what you want,
listen to what I just said.
Derangement syndrome. Oh, I listen. And that's what you're doing. It's called hypocrisy.
Nice one. So when he made that capitulation, is why I refer to it as a capitulation to the Democratic talking points, the Democratic
doing what you wanted,
on
doing
the
what
philosophy.
you wanted, apparently.
And that capitulation shows that guess what? I mean, not only were we right about the economics,
it shows that
he
even
got
when
the
he gives
big
you what you want,
squeeze.
you're still gonna cry about it.
He hasn't fully given us what we want yet. We need to double
so he's
check.
still doing what he said. Oh, I got. So
No,
what is it?
it's
He's
a
either
capitulation.
capitulating or he's still doing what he's doing. What is it then? You can't have it both ways.
No,
He's
I
still got
absolutely can. He just flew the white flag. We'll see if he holds to his
Oh,
word.
he's capitulating.
Yes, he flew the white flag. We'll see if he holds to his word.
Hold on. There will be order. There will be order in this court. Okay.
This is
Gibbs. I do have a question for you. Right. So, I guess. Do you have a problem with the protests in general, with people who are going and protesting, whether it's true or not, people who think that there are depredations being done by ICE, that they're acting in beyond the law, beyond the scope of their purview? Do you have a problem with people just protesting that in general? Why or why not?
Like, no, I don't have a problem with peaceful protests that are organized and people are done. Like, I don't have a problem with this national group coming in and doing like 2,000, in 2,000 cities. More power to them. Freedom of speech is good. As long as they don't break the law, then that's great. And stay in their designated areas. What's not great is when people are describing peaceful protests as something like blocking the street, when people got to go to work. People that are, there's a reason why we apply for permits and you'll have them in designated areas. It's that's really simple. Why are we going to interrupt traffic? Why are we going to cause problems for everyday people? Why can't somebody walking down the street with a film going to have water bottles thrown at him? It's outrageous that you're going to sit here and tell me this is peaceful. Like, no, that's not. Now, do I have a problem if they follow the rules and they go in this designated areas? Absolutely not. Good for them. Do that.
Do you believe a majority of the people are illegitimately blocking streets without permits?
I believe a sizable number of people are.
That's not what I
about the
asked you.
majority. It's enough to be a problem. It's enough to be a problem.
That's not what as a majority of people doing it.
I'm not going to speculate. It's enough to be a problem.
So you have no earthly idea as to whether or not a majority of the people in LA. No, like, you can just look at this is how you can tell the media consumption that you take in is so biased. You can look at the thousands of people who are protesting, just troves of people who are protesting against these riots or against these raids. And you could just look at the hard numbers. And you could just be like, oh, actually, they keep showing the same 3 Waymos in this one highway where there's like 100 people. There is like 50 times more people who are peacefully protesting than the fucking losers who are blocking the highway. I agree that they're fucking losers who are blocking the highway. There's very little people who disagree with that.
If let's just say there's 50,000 protesters, right?
Yep.
And only, 5,000 are bad apples, right?
Sure.
Would you say 5,000 being bad apples is a sizable number to be a fucking problem?
Yeah, of course, but I would say it's mostly peaceful.
But you agree with me, Jesus Christ?
Would you say that's mostly peaceful? Would you say that's mostly peaceful?
I would say it doesn't fucking matter because you have a big enough portion that's causing problems.
It doesn't matter. Wait, is it
exactly
mostly
what I said to begin with?
what makes a protest mostly peaceful? What makes a protest mostly peaceful?
If they follow the rules, there's no fucking riots. There's no vandalism.
There's not. If a single person vandalizes, it's no longer mostly peaceful.
No, but if a sizable portion does, then it's not mostly peaceful.
Okay, what's your sizable portion? Is it like 2%?
Austin had a protest last night. Only 8 people got arrested. That would be a mostly peaceful protest. 8 people, bad apples, right? But when
why would you account for the number of people who got arrested instead of the number of people causing issues? Like, I don't think that fucking cuck who stood up on top of the car that was like waving the Mexican flag, like LARPing the entire time while he was like trying to break Waymos. I don't know if that guy's been arrested.
Listen, I'm using the 8 people arrested statistic in a protest of hundreds to indicate that protest was peaceful overall, mostly peaceful, and they had only 8 people. Hold on. 8 people were arrested for doing stuff. Now, maybe there were more extra bad apples that they didn't catch. There's always somebody they don't catch, but like, hey, that means I'm giving you, this is an example of a peaceful protest. I don't see how me giving you a metric and then we turn over, look at LA, where there's businesses in the 20s getting vandalized and cars being burned and like all sorts of other wild shit happening. Cops getting rocks thrown at them.
If there was 2 people who got arrested in LA, would you say that it was mostly peaceful?
There was hundreds
No,
arrested.
I'm asking you, hypothetically, if there was 2 people got arrested.
It was only 2 people. Yeah, only 2 people got arrested.
You would say it was
probably.
Okay, I would say that would be an incompetence from the police department. Part of the reason.
If there was also no vandalism.
Okay, here, I think you guys guys are talking past each other. So what I think is being said, right? And what keep giving me money, keep giving me super chats. We'll read them at the top of the hour here. Don't worry. But what's Irrelevant is trying to get across is that his metric he is using to determine whether a protest is peaceful or not is the destruction caused, whereas, as I understand it, Gibbs, your metric is how many arrests are given. So I guess describe to me, Gibbs, why your metric is the correct one and Irrelevant's metric of destruction caused is an incorrect one.
Well, that's why. Hold on. So that's why I didn't engage the second part of what he said here, and I talked about the Austin. Right, Austin's a good example because 8 people got arrested. There was very minor vandalism. It's not to the level we see in L.A. Right now, in L.A., if only 2 people got arrested while 21 businesses got destroyed, no, it's not mostly peaceful then, right? Because you have to look at the things as a whole. If maybe 300 people got arrested and businesses were destroyed, yeah, that's not peaceful at all. When I look at that, there's a big difference here. You can see the amount of damage and the arrest, and they're both statistics you can look and take a metric comparatively to how many people are there. It's also an irrelevant kind of misnomer here when I say the reason why the LA protests are bad is because the size of the people that are doing bad things. It's not a small number. Yeah, it might be 95% mostly peaceful, but if you have a large enough people,
it is mostly peaceful.
Hold on, if it's 95% peaceful, but it's 100K people, that means you have like a 5,000, 10,000 people going out and destroying shit.
Arrest them, and that's what LAPD is doing.
That's a significant number of people. That's not peaceful, and thus it doesn't matter if it's mostly peaceful because the amount of damage that's being caused.
But the facts do matter. Quantity. It is mostly peaceful. The reason why facts matter is the reason why. No, I'm not. The reason why facts matter in this context is because Fox News and garbage companies like that and multiple different pundits and media groups are trying to paint the idea that it's like 50% violence and rioting. If you look at Fox News coverage, if you look, I'm not saying you. I'm saying this is why the facts are important. Excuse me. So
you're shadowboxing.
No, I'm saying the purpose for which the facts are important. The numbers are important. So for Fox News and stuff, if you watch some of their coverage, they're talking about how violent the riots are and stuff like this. And half of the B-roll is people just standing in front of cops. They can't even get proper B-roll of them like doing shitty things. They're just people standing in front of cops that are holding spooky guns and shields and stuff. I feel like I'm watching like leftist propaganda saying like, oh yeah, cops have a gun, so they're oppressing the people. It's like, no, that's not the reality. They're trying to keep the peace and do stuff like that while giving the people the space to protest. So that's really important. And inversely as well, the coverage that says that the police have been cracking skulls every day on there. Yeah, we have a couple of videos of police doing terrible things like that. I'm sure me and you can agree that one cop shooting the press chick for literally no reason. Wait, actually, I want to hear, do you think that guy should be in prison? That cop?
Are you familiar with the incident, Gibbs? So let me.
There's no shots.
Okay, I'll describe the incident for you. So on camera, it was caught that there was a reporter from Australia who was covering the riots and who was standing in front of a police line or catty corner to a police line, if you will. And those police had rubber bullets. During her spiel, one of the cops turned towards her and shot her in the leg with a rubber bullet. She had a press vest on, or I don't know if she had a press vest on. I have to check.
I don't think
she obviously was holding a microphone, talking to a camera that was recording her. It was obvious from context that she was press. She wasn't advancing towards the line. The cop turned towards her and shot her in the leg. It looked, at least from my eye, to be purposeful, to be targeted. So he's asking you, do you think that the cop who did that, who engaged in that behavior, should that cop face repercussions?
Yeah, I mean, if there's no other, mitigating circumstances outside that, sure. Yeah, I mean, it sounds bad. I did watch like the one clip like for 5 seconds, but it's been a very long week for me. I'll be honest. So yeah, it sounds bad. And if it's everything you say, then punish him. I'm okay with that.
I mean,
however, if there's like other,
I
mean, and I'll just caveat that with if there's other mitigating circumstances, like they're trying to clear people out, and the lady kept standing there interviewing people, then I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It sounds bad, but I'll grant it to you. I don't care. I don't need to look and argue over.
Well, the reason why this matters is because that this is then used, I think, inappropriately in some ways, inappropriately in others, inappropriately in the way that they this is being used to say that every single cop is attacking every single member of the press, but it's also used appropriately in the context of like, yeah, this cop should be in prison. If you watch this video, because I linked it to you. If you watch this video, he almost obviously directly targets this chick just to shoot at her. It's an egregious misuse of power. With great power comes great responsibility. This is part of the reason why.
I'll build a bridge with you right now. Like, listen, I'm a Texan. I don't know if you know Texas history, but we don't like big government. The idea of government overreach and cops and doing dictator-like things is not unknown to us, right? I'm not sitting here going to be like, I'm not a back the blue at all costs guy. I'm like, hey, I don't trust the government guy, right? So like, if you're telling me cop did bad thing, okay, probably. Government does bad shit all the time. I'm not going to die on the hill that they're only doing good. I'm sure there's good cops, there's bad cops, there's good protesters, bad protesters. The problem with the protest is the number of bad protesters is large enough to cause a significant amount of damage. That's the problem. Even if it's 95% peaceful, if you have 5,000 people destroying shit, that's a fucking problem.
Well, so there's two things off of that. You agree that if it's like near 95% peaceful, it is a mostly peaceful protest, correct?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so we've established that it is a mostly peaceful protest. After that, I can agree with you. I could break bread on the idea that we need to curtail all these people. LAPD is doing that. LAPD is doing that. And the deployment of many of these different federal authorities, like, for instance, the Marines, they can't assist in law enforcement duties. They're essentially there to just look spooky. They can't assist in law enforcement duties without a invocation of, I believe it's the Insurrection Act. They can't do anything. So they're just there to like look spooky, and then looking spooky is probably just going to agitate the people out there, because the people out there, like I said a bit ago, have this idea that if people are standing there with weapons, then it's like an oppression of our freedom of speech, and that they're going to take this as an escalation. Like, it's a very obvious escalation of the situation that's completely unnecessary. So when Gavin Newsom goes out and says, hey, retract these forces, we have hundreds of arrests under our belt, we're getting these things done. I mean, I believe him. And especially in the context of, I'm not sure you saw this, but it was a laughable failure from Trump, where he said, great job to our National Guard, great job out there, something to that effect. He said it multiple times inside of a tweet where he's like, great job to our National Guard for the amazing work that they're doing in California. And the National Guard hadn't yet been deployed.
Do you agree that with the decision back in whatever year it was when Lyndon B. Johnson sent the National Guard in to Alabama, despite the Alabama governor's protest, to ensure black people could go to college and go to high schools? Did you agree with that decision?
I would have to look at the circumstances, but on the merits, I would agree. On the merits of what you said, I would agree.
So you do agree that there's situations where the federal government should be able to overrule the governor of a state with sending the National Guard in. Is that correct then?
Assuming that there's some kind of civil rights abuse or something, some insubordination of a state, yeah.
So right now, it's interesting that y'all are using the same states' rights arguments to protect wage slavery with immigrants, and basically to protect, what's it called, nullification. You're basically making the Confederate States of America argument right now.
If I was trying to argue against wage slavery instead of the states, sending the National Guard isn't a solution.
Yeah, listen, we're trying to have the National Guard enforce national law, and you're sitting here going, hey, the states should be able to do what they want.
Hold on, just real quick, out of curiosity, what national law is the National Guard enforcing currently?
I mean, they're there to protect property. Those, I believe, is the case. Would you say property laws are important to protect?
Property laws not more local than they are federal?
Well, when the job's not getting done, somebody's got to do something.
Well, the point is that the job.
If you pay taxes and your business is vandalized because the LAPD pulled back because your mayor told them to pull back to an area and then did nothing, would you be pretty mad if no one came and did something?
They haven't done nothing. They've arrested.
Okay, would you also be happy if somebody came in and relieved the areas that the LAPD needed to protect buildings in so they could expand their area influence and, hey, hopefully include your business? Would that make you happy as a taxpayer? Probably. Like, if you say no, then you're lying. I don't believe this this bullshit y'all are trying to peddle. We know what they're doing. They're protecting federal buildings. That's what they're.
So
and sometimes
the
they're going
point,
with
the point that I was trying to draw, and the point that I will draw with the Trump tweet, is that Trump commended the National Guard for getting the situation under control in his tweet. The problem is the National Guard hadn't been deployed. So de facto, he was commending LAPD for getting the situation under control. So what's your excuse for that? Trump literally commended the LAPD because he thought he was commending the National Guard when it hadn't yet been deployed.
Sounds like typical politician taking credit for shit. That's not cool. You got him. I mean, that's something that every politician ever does.
Okay, so then that still doesn't defeat the point. He recognized that the conditions inside of California were sufficient for a good job.
Do you think the threat of the National Guard helped calm things down? I absolutely do. I wouldn't want to go fuck with the National Guard. Would you? Do you want to go fuck with the National Guard?
I personally don't, because I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Oh, cool,
but
exactly.
but hold on, we are not the people who are throwing, fucking bricks. The people who are throwing bricks, these are like angsty teens who are like, yeah, I'm going to fight the system. I'm fighting the man. I'm sure they really like the idea of these National Guard coming in so they can get more Instagram posts for their loser fucking TikToks and shit like that. Like that is probably what they want. They like the idea that they're in this crazy era where they're really fighting the man and fighting oppression, and they're the real oppressed ones. Like
now we're worried about angsty things, is what you're saying?
That's who's doing the looting. That's who's doing the throwing the bricks. Yeah. It's these fucking loser teenagers.
But it's not. We know who's throwing the bricks. They're like middle-aged.
Have you seen the arrest?
They're literally middle-aged. Yeah, bro. We saw the guy that was dropping face masks.
I'm actually
He was like a 30-year-old guy. We saw this other guy that got arrested that was all over the news.
I'm curious.
He was like
where's your evidence that the majority of the people who are arrested are
Can you show me
illegal
some
immigrants?
Because I don't take me 2 seconds.
Yeah, sure. I can actually show you a video. I can show you a video of about 20 teenagers. Sure, I can actually show you a video of about 20 teenagers walking to a building trying to loot it, and then a group of protesters kicking them out because they don't want those looters inside there. I can actually provide you that evidence. Can you provide me anything showing that because you said a majority of the people who have been arrested are illegal immigrants, like throwing bricks at police? To my knowledge, there's been a very small amount of that because the illegal immigrants don't want to be anywhere near this protest because they know that they're going to get fucking deported. Why the fuck would many of these illegal immigrants be at a protest for ICE? It makes no fucking sense.
All right, hold on. I'll get you a source for this here because
while he's doing that, right, I want to pass the mic to Tali to ask a couple questions.
So, Ahrelevant, I'm curious. I'm of the opinion that at the very least, Trump jumped the gun by sending in the National Guard. But I'm curious if you think there would have been some validity to putting them on notice or something, and even just using the threat as a form of deterrence for the following reasons. I think there is a lot of valid trauma from the BLM protests and riots from the summer of 2020 and onwards. And we saw cities where, whether it was because they were being given explicit command to sort of step down and stand on the periphery for the police, or because they essentially couldn't handle it because they were outnumbered and not being supported. We saw cities or parts of cities that became really lawless. And if there were evidence of some type of political motivation on behalf of California administrators to dampen police presence, would you at that point support some type of federal escalation?
If there was what to dampen police presence?
If there was evidence that basically the way that you're commending Gavin Newsom for responding and the police for responding, if there was evidence that they weren't responding in such a fashion, would you consider some type of escalation? Because even my understanding, I say they jumped the gun because it did look like to me in the beginning, and this is all camera angles and propaganda that we're seeing essentially, but to me, from the very first couple of nights of the protest, you saw a lot of mayhem with cops standing back and watching. The same frustrations that people see with some of these other rowdy protests, maybe not super violent, but not entirely peaceful. So if there was evidence that there was some type of political motivation to not use heavy police enforcement, would you support some third party coming in?
Yeah, I mean, if the local law enforcement is not protecting like businesses and doing what they need to do, I would definitely support at bare minimum the threat of you sending in federal forces to be able to get the state actors to, get in line, state and city actors to be able to get in line and curtail some of this. Absolutely. I just don't. Not only did I not see a sufficient evidence just when it comes to the numbers of arrests and how the police were acting inside of specific circumstances, I didn't see sufficient evidence to illustrate that there was just total inaction. Could they have been better? Sure, I would agree. I would say that even right now that there should be something done about the people on the highway, right? Or I'm assuming people are still on the highway. I didn't check before I got on the stream today. But those people on the highway, there should probably be something more done. Like the precedent that you can just block a major roadway, like this is not a good precedent to set. There should be a means to be able to disperse some of them, a little bit more effectively. That being said, I think overall they're doing a relatively good job. And like I said, Trump agreed. Trump commended the LAPD effectively because he thought he was commending himself. He thought he was patting himself on the back, but didn't realize it was yet to deploy the National Guard. Also, I'm not sure if you Gibbs saw, but after the deployment of the National Guard, they literally didn't have a place to sleep. They were sleeping on the ground because Trump's incomplete.
By the way, that was an old picture from 2023, or that bro. That year now.
Wait, can you provide me the source for that?
You go look it up the tweet. Yeah, it's an old picture. Go look at source. Check that yourself. I provided about 5 sources for the other thing. You can source that one. That one's a
what
fake
are these
news.
sources for?
I know for a fact these were the ones that mere claims that illegal immigrants weren't involved in this. They were staying far away. One of them was charged with being charged with attempted murder for throwing a Molotov cocktail at somebody, bro. Checkmate. We had 111 illegal migrants caught in one of them.
You made the claim a majority.
Hold on. I didn't say a majority. You told me it was all angsty teens. I said it was middle-aged illegal immigrants causing damage. And guess what? We got this one over here saying it's, a middle-aged Hispanic male throwing a Molotov cocktail. That's an illegal alien. Boom. That's attempted murder. That just blows everything you said out of the water. I have 111 other arrests on here.
You have a single one?
Hold on. I have 4 other sources going in there. If you go and look through them, I just spam sources where they listed all these illegal immigrants, many of them with violent crimes, had all that were sitting here that got arrested at these protests. One of them had over this one list assaults on ICE agents were up 413% during these protests. That's crazy. Over 1,000 people were protesting, and it took LAPD 2 hours to even get there and respond. It's crazy. Oh, well, it does. It does say that. If you go read the sources, every single one of them mentions the exact number of illegals detained at the protest, which is a significant number. Good try, though. Get wrecked.
Okay, so I'm curious. You say that these numbers have, because first of all, you sent me literally the known liar and propagandist, the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, for the White House. She has lied over hundreds of times, so I'm not going to take her at her word. But if you want to actually
trust Democrats after the Biden thing, bro. Come on.
In comparison to Caroline Leavitt, absolutely. I'm pretty sure that woman has lied more times than I breathed in my life. Okay,
that's why I put 2 other sources to back it. That's why I put 2 other sources.
That's what I was going to say. I'll take a look at some of these other sources.
I knew that one was coming. I knew it was coming. It's like I know the Dems so well. They're always going to cry about,
you know me so well, yet you linked it anyway.
It's not a good source. Oh, I know, because once again, you fell for my trap card. I knew you were going to sit here and bitch about it. That's why I put 2 more sources that backed it up. Holy shit. It's like I knew the Democrats can't be good faith. Every time. Just like when he earlier was saying Trump conceded. It's just crazy.
So I'm actually reading your links. It doesn't say anywhere what you're talking about. The link,
God, bro. Read the link, Papa.
Yeah, I am. The Daily Center News Foundation link that you linked does not say that the majority or even really references a number of the illegal immigrants.
I listed a number. It said 118 fucking illegals, bro. Do you read? I don't know what you're confused about.
Hold on. Let's take a step back. Okay.
Nobody said most. Nobody said most.
What specific? We got to be specific with claims here. Admiral Gibbs.
Exactly. That's why I said exact numbers.
What is your specific claim that you're making, and why are you making it? What is the reason you're making this claim?
Sure. I'm debunking his claim earlier. It's all angsty teens. There's no illegals actually here. They're staying away for the protest. That doesn't work when we have an illegal. When
Yes,
we
I'm
have
not
an
going to say
illegal,
one illegal immigrant being arrested. It counts
Or
as that,
attempted
Gibbs.
murder,
I've got
although-
one.
Okay,
Yes.
and then what about, we got one source, the semester secretary saying 111 or 118. I got another one, the LA, the Washington Examiner. That one talks about 118 people. Daily Caller's got 118. We got over here, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security mentions
You're
numbers. There's
saying
about
things,
15
but I'm
different numbers.
actually reading the things that you're linking, and it's not saying what you are.
hold on. So you're saying, Gibbs, real quick.
There's a significant number of illegals that have been arrested.
There is 118 is the number you're using.
Well, we got 113. We got 330 from Carolyn Levitt, 113 at prior convictions, if you want to use that one. We go to this other one, I believe it said 118 was arrested. That was a different claim. But
Is that total arrested or just total illegal immigrants?
It's probably from the time of the argument. Total arrested illegal immigrants at the time of the article.
Relevant.
Right?
Assuming all of his numbers are accurate,
That's a large
how
number.
would you feel? Sure. How would you feel about those people being deported? People who are
Of course.
undocumented showing up. Okay.
Like, if you're going to throw a brick and you're an undocumented migrant, first of all, you're fucking retarded. Second of all, get the fuck out of my country. Like, yeah, absolutely.
So I guess this is an interesting thing that I've noticed is it feels like a lot of the people protesting are kind of protesting for different reasons, and I guess that's to be expected, but there's like a spectrum really of things that people are criticizing right now. Some people are criticizing the way that ICE is going in, masked, unnamed, right? The sort of insensitivity of it. Others are saying that essentially no undocumented immigrants should be deported unless they've committed some type of additional violent crime. Because you have such a difference of opinion among these protesters, I guess I'm curious your thoughts on the politics of people on the left or specifically Democrats even sort of protecting the protesters when a lot of these people are likely not Democratic voters. I'm inclined to agree with what you said. These are like angsty anarchist types for the most part.
Yeah, I think that they should be doing more to get rid of these people because, like you said, they don't even vote for them anyway. They are literally the types of people to say Kamala Harris would have been doing this as well. They're just like insanely stupid people. But even beyond their politics, because obviously I don't think the government should be involved in like cracking down based on your politics. But even beyond that, like we just shouldn't have this level of like lawlessness. Not only does it make the state look bad, because it makes it look like they're not responding to a real threat to the local community, but it also makes like the Democratic Party or the greater base like look bad, which is just not like, why would we even do this? So yeah, I mean, I would say that on the merit. Also, I had it linked to me. Did you just lie about the photo of the National Guard sleeping on the floor being? I guess I won't accuse you of lying. You just fell for fake news. That is real. That is a real photo. Those are real photos.
The one I've seen has all been from back for like 2023 or whenever they moved. They were deployed for a hurricane.
I linked you the Gavin Newsom.
Can you show it on
specific one.
stream? So just share your screen, pull it up, and we can look at it.
Me?
Yeah. Whoever's
okay.
looking at this photo, right, that we're saying is fake news.
okey-doke.
So just so the audience can know what we're talking about. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
Yeah, let me share my
You should
screen
be able
real
to.
quick.
You should have permission. If you don't, let me know, and I can give you a role that gives you permission. Yeah.
I have a
This
hard
should
time
be-
being offended by this picture. I
All right,
feel
the
like
the one on the left is allegedly fake news. The one on the right I haven't seen before.
Okay, what is your source for saying it's fake news?
I've seen like what the AI, the little community notes on 2 different Twitter posts about it. I've seen it on a couple other things. So I mean,
Can I see those community posts? I'd be curious.
listen. I've been providing sources on the right. I'm not going to scroll through Twitter for like an hour to find this one post.
Just as someone who is actually, just real quick, as someone who's actually served in the military for a while, this isn't necessarily out of the ordinary that we'd be sleeping on the ground, especially when we're just deployed to an area. We haven't set up anything, right? We don't have barracks there. We don't have anything there. This is just not. This particular is just not out of the ordinary. It's pretty routine.
Okay.
And you could say that, oh, that's horrible. Yeah, it sucks, bro. Right? Military life sucks, but it's not. This isn't just. This is,
I can't find anything to get worked up at over that photo. I don't really see anything horrific about that.
The reason why I care about this photo is because it shows that there was a quick fast, snap response instead of taking the time to be able to. No, it wasn't, because there was no urgency. Because if there was urgency, why would Trump commend LAPD for their job done?
If your business is being destroyed, do you think it's urgent?
Why did Trump commend LAPD for such a great job?
When your business is getting destroyed, do you think it's urgent to get someone there to help defend it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I think that LAPD arrested hundreds of people.
And a quick, fast response is a good thing.
No, because why did Trump commend LAPD for a great job? Why did Trump commend LAPD for a great job?
Listen, I don't fucking know, bro. Am I supposed to sit here and read
he saw the conditions in LA. He saw that it was good, sufficient to be able to farm a dub, and he was too idiotic to realize he hadn't yet deployed the National Guard.
I'm not going to trust your reading of the tea leaves about Donald Trump.
It's not reading of the tea leaves. You can look at the material facts, the timeline. He commended the National Guard in the area for getting the situation under control, and the National Guard had not yet been deployed.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Next time I want to hear about how to get downtown, I'm gonna go ask Ray Charles. This is about the most great analysis of Trump tea leaf reading I've ever heard. I'm not gonna take whatever you're saying seriously in regards to why did Trump do anything. Like, come on.
No, I mean, he commended the National Guard for a job well done before the National Guard had been deployed. He said that they did a good job of curtailing the riots, the violent riots. So de facto, he was commending LAPD.
Maybe he was over here trying to get in the heads of these people. Like, don't fuck with this National Guard. Who knows, bro?
Yes,
you know, I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. Y'all haven't been right one time about Trump on the left. So I just.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry. I don't take y'all credibility too much.
Wasn't Kamala Harris literally? Wasn't Kamala Harris literally laughed at because she said that Trump would deploy the military he would use the army against us, and Trump literally just deployed the army against us?
You know, I mean, Trump was also laughed at whenever he said, "Oh, they're trying to do transgender surgery."
That's weird that you just did. You said we never make predictions that are right, and Kamala Harris literally made a prediction that was right. That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
The only thing Kamala Harris is predicting
the big bad Democrat that you're so scared of. Yes, she made a correct prediction about Trump's deployment of the military.
Hold on.
The only thing Kamala Harris is predicting
is Gibbs, and I have a question.
Where her next shot of alcohol is coming from. I don't want to hear no more about.
Listen, if we want to talk about alcoholics, let's talk about Pete Hegseth and his fucking total incompetence.
We can just talk about me being an alcoholic. I don't give a shit. What are we talking about?
Let's reel it in just a bit, because I do have a question for both of you, actually, and I'm very curious, right? Because Harris has been brought up, but I think it's when we're talking about what's happening, we can talk about how much fault we should lay at the president's feet and whether or not it would have been worse or better under any alternatives. When we talk about Harris, first of all, and this is to Gibbs first, and then Ahrelevant, I do want to hear your opinion. Had Harris been in charge, do you think that we would have had the number of protests and riots, etc., that we are currently undergoing? Why or why not, please?
Well, I mean, if there were protests, they would have probably been peaceful ones, and not in the what I say mostly peaceful, like the whole town got burned down. We've never seen Republicans protest in that manner. You can argue January
6th. What?
Oh yeah, I knew that was coming. It's how many businesses?
Yeah, it's only assault on the Capitol.
Okay, yeah, cool. For another 20 years, we'll hear about January 6th.
Yeah, it's a really big deal.
I'll
let you finish. Yeah,
like when no businesses were burned down, it lasted 3 hours. This has been days and days and days of arrest. Totally said no. I don't think we would have seen the same level, Wick. I mean, even if we saw like a 3 hour protest somewhere that was violent, it's not going to be days of unrest. I don't think anybody thinks that. And the other thing is, like, there would have been other problems, right? Like, of course, they're not going to be enforcing immigration law. Instead, we're just going to be having migrant caravans flying in left and right, just like when she was the border czar, where she's encouraging to come down there while simultaneously telling them not to come. Yeah, come on, bro. It's like, yeah, we would have had totally different problems. I don't know if it's a fair analogy to try to compare the two in that manner. I mean, do you disagree with my assessment there?
Me? Yeah, of course I do. Did Biden increase interior detentions? Did Biden reduce illegal immigration? Did Biden increase deportations? He did. There is no reason to believe that Kamala Harris wouldn't continue that policy. Did Biden attempt to institute a large sweeping bill to be able to massively increase the funding for the DHS, for Border Patrol, for all these different things? Yeah, he did. And then Trump shut it down. Why? Because
it was not enough. It wasn't going to get the job done.
Hold on. He let you finish. Let him finish, please.
Congressional Republicans said that the purpose for which he canceled that, he removed that bill, was because he wanted to crack down on on immigration, he wanted that dub. And that still isn't even being given to him. He's underwater on approval rating. His approval rating on immigration is in the negatives. Like, that's his thing. And he's in the negatives on approval for immigration. Even with these protests and if you even want to call them riots going on, the riots going on, his approval is still ass.
What do you think the disapproval with regards to Trump and immigration is about? Because I wonder if I'm not sure if both sides are reading this the same way.
So if I had to guess what the disapproval is with immigration, it has to do with the nature of him going into communities and quite indiscriminately removing people, but also the illegal nature in which he's going about it. There's, Kilmore Abrego Garcia was national news, and the other deportations that happened to El Salvador were national news about how these people didn't have due process, that there was multiple different judges saying, hey, this is unconstitutional. It looks like he did it in the messiest way he possibly could, just to be able to get his numbers up. And all internal reporting seems to be consistent with that. He just wants to beat Biden on deportation numbers, and he wanted to beat Biden, so he was willing to do anything in order to do that. And Stephen Miller was willing to back his play.
So two things before we get back to it. I do have to read super chats. People have been paying me money. I gotta make my money, boys and girls. So we're gonna do that. Keep sending them in. We're gonna read them again soon. Don't worry. But while I do that, and you can kind of wrestle with this in your head. So according to the Wall Street Journal, in a recent article that they wrote, Trump is on track to deport less people than Biden did in 2024. And that is one of the reasons that Stephen Miller and others in the administration have kind of changed the focus of where ICE is conducting its business, if you will. Beforehand, they were targeting violent criminals, Tren de Agua, MS-13, gang members, etc. Instead, they have been instructed to go for more soft targets, like people who are at hospitals, people who go into their court cases, so that they can get their numbers up. The quote I think that Stephen Miller used was like, who here thinks that we can't go out into the streets of Washington, D.C. and just arrest 30 people that we find? Raise your hand if you don't think we can do that. And that's kind of what people have been protesting, is this change of focus of ICE. But wrestle with that. I'll read these quotes. $5 from Zephyr Hash to say, hey, Wick, can you ask Gibbs to repeat the first sentence again so I can write it down and get insurance money? I don't know what you're talking about anymore. It's been a while. Thank you for the $5. $10 from Alexander Rin to say, what bad faith. You wouldn't have said, quote unquote, burn down to stand in for vandalism if you didn't think it was worse. Admit the misdirect and move on, Gibbs. Thank you for the $10. $10 more from Artemis Fowl to say opposite of the case, quote unquote, is a lie. We watched LA protesters go from crowding the facilities to vandalizing property and assaulting police. Pretending those things don't happen is disingenuous. Thank you for the $10. $10 more from Alexander Rin to say, why is it that Republican leadership is so weak as to create so many violent protests? First BLM, then January 6th. Now these? Are Republicans ever going to actually lead? $5 from Zephyr Hash to say, does 21 businesses getting vandalized, not burned down, warrant the Marines and National Guard being sent in? The government overreach? Or is Gibbs gonna gish gallop? Thank you for the $5. $10 from Alexander Rin to say, what bullshit is that? The federal government does not enforce local laws because the locals aren't doing it. That is not the same as civil rights. $10 finally from Zephyr Hash to say, conservatives don't protest not because they're peaceful, it's because they are illiterate, undereducated, and don't keep up with the news. When Fox triggers them enough, they will be extremely violent. Thank you for the $10. And that said, let's go back. Unless Tali has something to say, then we'll give it to Gibbs.
Well, I have two thoughts. The first is with regards to arresting protesters and stuff like that. Irrelevant, I wonder what you think about the fact that a lot of these seem to be, this is my very cursory understanding, I would love to be proved wrong, that a lot of these people are essentially detained and then released, not actually held on charges, not prosecuted. And I remember, again, going back to 2020, this was a top-down directive not to prosecute the charges of the protesters. So I'm curious what your thoughts are about that, because again, if my business were vandalized or something, I don't know that Marine presence on the ground would help, because that would likely deter a lot of normal business in the neighborhood. But I would also be very, very angry if the known vandals were released because the government is sympathetic to their political aims.
I have no knowledge about significant like releases of people after detention out, or more specifically, the lack of pursuing charges in a court as a result of this. If that happened, then yeah, of course I would be like super against it. These people, as I stated this entire time, should go to prison. If you're throwing bricks through these things, we need to have a very strong response to deter people from having this. Because guess what? It's not a chilling effect. No, you're not gonna, a normal person is not gonna throw a brick through a window. I'm not worried that of a chilling effect. Oh God, what happens if I'm perceived as throwing a brick through a window? Bro, I don't even know where to get a brick in the middle of LA. Like, where do I get a brick? Like, I don't
That's
even,
the whole thing.
like, I don't even know. Like, I know there's like stories of people like bringing pallets of like bricks or whatever. Maybe that's what you're
the
referring to.
stories.
You know, this, like, yeah. I don't know, but I actually don't know where I would even find a brick to throw through a window. But you understand what I'm saying? Like this, yeah, I fully support the idea of these people like facing significant, I do not support, I believe they have to if we want a civilized society. So yeah.
I just want you to answer this real quick, but before we move on, are you telling me, I'm not going to go with the pallet conspiracy route? That's not. Are you telling me in the second biggest city in the nation during the time of unrest that people aren't going to be able to find hard objects like broken concrete and bricks to
Do
throw?
you really think that's what I just, is that what your takeaway is from what I just said?
Where
is
do you
a
even find
crazy
a brick?
ass question.
Where do you even find a brick,
The
bro?
point
It's
of
a
me
city.
saying, where do you even find a brick is that a normal person isn't going to throw a brick through a window, bro. It's the point is that if you want to throw a brick through a window, you actually have to be intent on that crime. You can't accidentally throw a brick through a window. You have to go through and look for it. Okay, that's the point.
Oh,
all right?
look for it. That's not in a city where there's concrete.
Do you think this is an own, bro? Do you think you're getting a dub here?
Stupid. It's just so stupid what you're saying. I can't even believe it.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're not talking about normal people. We're talking about the thousands of people that are protesting violently. That's what we're talking about. So,
yeah, and I said arrest them. They should be in prison. This is my point. You're just like a talking point machine. You can't actually listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying arrest them and put them in prison. That's what I'm saying.
I'm happy. Good. That's good. That's the smartest thing you said all night.
So you didn't hear me say that the 19 other times? That's crazy, bro. Maybe get your ears checked.
Yeah, cool. Problem.
Okay, buddy.
Go ahead, Tali. You had something to say.
So, from what I understand, the best estimates from the most ardent Trump supporters, the most anti-immigration people, is that at the current rate, or even a faster rate than what Trump is doing right now, in his 4 years in office, it would be impossible to deport all illegal immigrants, everyone that he would theoretically be targeting. With that said, because I'm taking into consideration what you said at the beginning, Ahrelevant, about the sort of economic crisis that it could have if we actually were to deport every single undocumented migrant. However, I'm having a hard, and I take great concern with the lack of due process. I think it hurts his own cause, just very obviously, and it's not good. Okay, I think that's the wrong direction to go in. With all of that said, why is it wrong to move on to deporting non-violent offenders? So my understanding from the beginning was the Trump administration said that they were starting and targeting violent offenders. And I remember having a conversation with my mom early on where she was like, well, then they're also, deporting their family members and their cousins and other people when they find these violent people. And me was like, well, yeah, that no one who is illegal was ever guaranteed some type of amnesty. So why is it inherently a problem if he is targeting for deportation non-violent illegal immigrants?
Yeah, okay. So the reason why I care about this is because we have one of the best opportunities ever to pick and choose, essentially, who we want to give the best opportunity to become a U.S. citizen. This is a phenomenal, gift. Because you know what this allows me to do? You're throwing a brick, get out of my country. You're not throwing a brick, you're paying taxes, you're paying into Social Security. Let's figure out a way to get you natural or get you citizenship, right? This idea that we get to pick and choose, we get our choice of, we get a cherry pick, right? This is a phenomenal opportunity. But specifically, the reason why is because these are hardworking people that I would want inside of my country. They're not causing issues. This is assuming they don't have a criminal history. They've been hardworking. They've been paying taxes. They've been doing all these things. These are the types of people I want in my country. And the immigration system that we have right now, if you don't win the visa lottery and stuff, it takes decades to get through this system. It is a horrendously slow system. So the idea would be, it's not just like, hey, if you've been in here for 10 years, it's just because you don't want to become a citizen. Instead, it's really, really hard if you don't actually, get these various programs to be able to, or get lucky with these various programs to be able to go through the immigration process faster. This is part of the reason why Biden wanted to massively expand immigration judges and the ability for people to legally immigrate inside of this country. And he did also do that and massively expand legal immigration inside of this country, and it should have been expanded further. Okay. That's like my point, I guess.
I do have a question for Admiral Gibbs on that note, right?
Can I answer your previous question too?
Oh yes, go ahead. Answer my previous question. Then
yeah, so I want to talk about when you were talking about the polling and they're picking up the pace, and that's part of the reason they're moving on, right? So this is interesting to me because on the Republican side, many Republicans are not satisfied with the pace of this, right? So you have some Trump polling disapproval from Republicans because it's not enough. So that it's not just people aren't happy about what's happening over here on the left and they're disapproving. There's also Republicans that are going, no. We wanted all of them out. Let's get to it. And I'm one of these people. I'm mad right now that he's even backing down at all. But I'm also in the camp. I'd rather take what's happening now than nothing. Let's get started. We can't get all 20 million out on one presidency, but we need to start making moves now because it's a problem.
Wait, do you deny that Trump is not on track to beat Biden for deportations?
Well, I'm not denying that. Here's what I think is happening.
Okay, so
if
Biden
you want my meta-analysis,
like
I think that he is trying to push some things through the courts right now, and once the legal aspects get fired out, then he's going to probably ramp up the numbers quite a bit. That seems to be what his tactic has been. He tries to find out the legal lay of the land, and then once he does that, then they push harder that way. That's my theory. I hope that's what happens. I could be wrong because I am in the camp that he's not deporting fast enough. So there's some disapproval right there with your Trump disapproval rate. However, that's not what a lot of people are trying to make out where, everybody's just not in favor. I posted some polling stats, and it shows many people are very satisfied with the immigration policy, and it's moving that way because part of the just violent backlash against it, because they're going, why do we want to keep these people here when they're waving foreign national flags and burning our cars, destroying businesses, and saying, give it back to Mexico, it's stolen land. I absolutely can understand why that's not a selling point for people, and people are disapproving of Trump not getting those people out of here fast enough.
Yeah, it sounds like Biden was your guy then. Yeah, sounds like he did a better job. Not only did he do it more legally and legitimately, he also did it faster. No, you said you don't think that he did it faster.
Well, you do. Okay, so you obviously don't know me. Witt can attest to this. I literally started coming on panels because of the piss poor Biden job was doing on the Texas border specifically, and how bad illegal immigration was. It was outrageous.
You're
just
doing a better job than Trump.
Or wrong.
Wait, okay, so you disagree that Biden had deported more people?
Oh, listen, I'm not going to disagree with whatever raw numbers you want to pull up. I agree that Trump has not done enough as yet, but I'm hoping he can.
Not done as much as Biden.
Hold on. I think we're mixing a couple things up here, and both of you are mixing a couple things up. Okay. Border security is not the same as immigration enforcement.
They are absolutely
not the same.
Fair enough.
And I'll tell you why. I think we can just, again, by going by the government's numbers, we can see that while Biden was deporting more, Trump has closed down the border. And so you have much less coming in. Now, he still hasn't deported as much as Biden, but both of these things are true. Like, both of these things are true, that Biden had a less secure border, but that Biden also deported more illegal immigrants. And both of these things are true. But to my second question, right, to you specifically, Admiral Gibbs, given what Ahrelevant has outlined about a tax-paying, like Hernandez, who works at the nail salon or the masseuse or your auto shop, right? He hasn't broken any laws. He hasn't done any crimes, right? He's here illegally. That's the only law he's broken. But other than that, tax-paying guy, he contributes to Social Security. He has kids. He's married, maybe to a citizen even. Why not give that person a path to citizenship?
Look, I've come on here many times, and part of the reason I want the secure border and the deportations, right? I think with the secure border, we have the secure border, we don't have the influx like you just mentioned, but then even if the deportations are less, that we're getting a net loss. Whereas Biden, it was a net positive, right? So what you're describing this situation, I was going to give you a different scenario. One of my good friends, he was illegal. He worked 3 minimum wage jobs. He finally got through all that. He got the paperwork done. He got the legal process done. Real happy for him, right? And he's living the American dream. He just bought a Porsche. He's bought a new house. He's got a kid on the way. That's the American dream. I want more of that. I've come on here many times on your panels.
So you would be okay with providing a natural
I've absolutely said we need a way better program to get people in here that want to work. We need workers. We need bodies for the military. We need people in general. Like I am all for reforming immigration. However, every time I've done that, I say we also need the border, and no one's given me that but Trump. And if I have to pick between secure border and deportations with no path, then I'm going to pick that over, hey, we give them a path and we just let the floodgates open. That's kind of the situation I'm in. Yes, I want reform. I'm pushing for reform in the Republican Party. I'm sitting there telling my people I want more of the Hispanics here. These people want to work. I want these programs changed, but I want them to come legally, because the people that are doing the legal process, it's not fair to them. And there's also all sorts of other reasons.
What about the people who are already here? What about the people who are already here who are being deported?
I mean, listen, I understand they need to go through the legal process. It's not fair to people that have been trying to come here the legal way. Like I feel for them. I understand. I have sympathy, and that's why I brought up my friend who was legal and went through the process. Now, was he able to hide out until he got it done? Yes, but hey,
do you think he should have been deported before he went through the process?
Absolutely.
You think he should have been deported?
At least once. Yeah, I mean, I think he did get deported at least once. I don't know his full story, but yeah, I would say
if he got deported at least once and then came back, isn't that like a? Can't he get in prison for that?
I could be wrong about him getting deported or once or not.
I'm pretty sure if you get deported and then you come back, you get put in prison.
Like I said, I don't know the specifics. I'm just saying he's an epitome of an American dream. I'm all for reform. Like, you're not going to get me with a gotcha when I'm advocating for reform within the Republican Party. I've already stated my position. I need the border secured, and I want deportations to happen for people that are legal. Yes, it sucks, but if you're here legally, and I would have supported him getting deported too, even though he's my friend. I'm sorry. It's just it's a matter of principle. Yeah, I want to feel for the individual, and I would feel for him, but I'm not going to be break my principle for him, either. That's also not like I don't understand how you can argue against that point.
So why?
I'm curious.
Tali, please.
I'm curious, just to take it one step further. So again, I am pro-immigration, but I also don't feel like anybody is entitled to become an American. I think there's a lot of Americans who with a lot of sympathy who feel like anyone who wants to be here should be allowed to be here and should be given a path to that. And I don't think that's necessarily a given. And I wonder too, even when we're talking about non-violent illegal immigrants, if we're still putting a lot of people in the same bag where maybe they don't belong. So there are the people who are paying in Social Security, right? Who are trying to go the legal route but failing, right, for whatever reason, but making attempts to for a legal pathway. And then you have other people who are essentially dodging any type of communication with the government. Their goal is not to gain citizenship legally. They are just trying to stay under the radar. Maybe they don't have a family here. They're making their money under the table and sending it home while living in a house with 11 other guys or something like that. Should we be making these types of distinctions if, whether we like it or not, there's a legal precedent for the president to deport people who are not here legally?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good question. And yeah, I would say, if you're trying to sidestep the legal process, yeah, you should. I mean, that is illegal, right? It may not be a violent act or whatever, but at least, and to my knowledge, this is a big reason why a lot of illegal immigrants will try and pay taxes and pay into Social Security, is because it shows good faith. When immigration comes knocking, you're like, oh man, I've been paying my taxes. I don't cause any issues, no crime. And I've been trying to go through the legal process. I've been paying into Social Security. I'm a hardworking member of my community. It looks good. And that's what I would want, is to be able to cherry pick like that.
Well, look at the micro though, bro. Look at the micro. Say let's just give you a hypothetical just to play with this, right?
Sure.
say someone broke into your house, right? They didn't damage it when they did. They came in. It was like your door was locked. They broke into your house and they cleaned your whole house up. They cleaned it up real nice, the best cleaning it's ever been, right? And then maybe they, I don't know, organized your files. They did all these nice things for you. That's great. And then you come home and you find them there. Would you want that person to stay there? Or would you be like, oh, thanks for cleaning and shit. Can you get the fuck out of my house now? Like, that's what you would say, right?
My private house is going to be different than an entire country where I have to live with total strangers.
I see you avoiding the question. You in your private house, would you do that? Yes or no?
Yes, I would kick them out.
Okay,
but
cool.
I'm
So
trying
now-
to say that
now
the analogy isn't.
it is comparable to the national
point
level.
of the original.
Taxpayers are
No,
sick
it
of
is not.
people paying.
I have to
We know that
cohabitate.
there's a medical burden.
So
on
let me
the society
respond
to do
because
this,
you
people.
made it.
Go ahead.
Let me
Well,
respond.
I asked you a question.
Do you have to?
You never answer your question. Why is that not comparable? Irrelevant.
Yeah. Why? It's not comparable because in my private house, my private domicile, I do not cohabitate with hundreds of millions of total strangers. I do that inside of, and I would never, and I can never be compelled to do that under the law. However, I live in a country where in which that absolutely happens. That's the way that it works. So for your example, do you live with millions of total strangers inside of your house, or do you think that you should be compelled to do that? Or is maybe a house disanalogous to a country?
Well, there's a reason why I didn't want you to move on so quick. Is there's a second part of the question. Now, would you want that person charged with breaking and entering if they didn't want to leave after they stayed in your house?
If they broke into my house, sure. Now, are you going to answer the question?
So yeah, back to what you're saying. Yeah, it's absolutely comparable because when you're talking about like coexisting in a society, it's just like coexisting in HOA. It's just like your private property.
Wait,
these are all
HOA
things you
is
have
a
to do.
good example. If somebody came into my neighborhood, right, and I have an HOA and they cleaned up a bunch of stuff, would I say, you have to get the hell out of my neighborhood? No, I'd be like, okay, thanks.
Dude.
No, I'd be like, thanks, bro. Thanks for trimming the hedges and stuff. That saves me a bunch of time. Absolutely.
They don't do that. In fact, HOAs come down hard on people like that. They're like, oh, you were supposed to trim at certain times. There's all sorts of things. You don't know why.
But if somebody comes into your neighborhood and trims your hedges for you, I'm saying if somebody comes in... I don't like HOAs. I don't like
HOAs either.
No one likes HOAs,
Let me for some reason try to sharpen Gibbs' analogy here. So what if you've got someone
sharpen it all? Go ahead. Sorry.
I think it needs help. Let's say somebody who doesn't live in your neighborhood in your development is not paying into the HOA, right? Mm-hmm. But decides to come and trim the hedges. Okay, right? Mm-hmm. Now, because he came and trimmed the hedges, he feels like he should be allowed to hang out at the community pool and barbecue center. And so he's there every day, all day. He's bringing his family, he's bringing his kids, he's bringing his cousin. Everyone now is hanging out at the pool and using the barbecue every night. But he's coming in to trim everybody's hedges. He's doing a really good job, better than what the HOA is able to provide for. Mm-hmm. I think that's a better analogy, frankly. I think we're still in weird territory here, but...
It is a better analogy, and I would say under that scheme, as long as he's chill and his family is chill, I don't think I would care. Like it depends. Like I understand.
I would so care.
Hold on, Ahrelevant. Surely there'd be there would come a time where you did care. For example, if you had the pool, and every time you try to use a pool, you can't use a pool because it's this guy and all his family and his cousins, people who don't pay the dues to the HOA, who aren't members of the HOA, who don't even live there, but they're using your resources, they're taking it up. Surely there would come a point where you'd be like, nah, get out. I want to use the pool.
In a hypothetical, yes, in the hypothetical where in which it's totally breaking down my the services that I get from the HOA, sure. I don't see how this analogy works with illegal immigration because they're not taking our Social Security. They're not taking any of our benefits. In fact, they're paying hundreds of billions of dollars into our economy and over $100 billion a year into taxes.
Well, if we see different public services that are funded by our taxpayer dollars, then perhaps the analogy holds, right? They're getting to reap the benefits of public services that are paid for by taxpayers. And again, I mean, I feel like people try to act like every illegal immigrant is a taxpayer in the same way that a citizen is, and I don't think that that's borne out entirely. Although I'm inclined to agree with you that there are people showing good faith.
And in those cases where in which they're not paying taxes and they're not supporting the community, I would want them out.
We
It's a
have
pretty
examples
basic
even where
idea.
they do. All right, so okay, I live in Texas. We have sales tax, right? So illegal aliens pay for taxes here, right? That's something that I hear all the time. That's part of the reason why we have sales tax, right? Is because we know we have a large portion of illegal aliens that come in here and they like
not the
whatever.
reason
You at least
why.
got to get money. It's part of the reason. It's part of the reason. But don't act like it's not. I just come on. You know, it absolutely. Okay, whatever. Anyway, we're gonna move on from that. It's not the point I'm making. There is absolutely evidence. We've had multiple hospitals shut down, and a big reason for that is unpaid medical debt because illegal aliens will come in and they will give them fake papers, or they'll just come in, get their services done because you have to render services, and then never pay. We've had at least 2 hospitals shut down, and there's an area right now on the south side of town that finally is getting a new hospital built over there now. But it was about 3-4 years where they couldn't even get a buyer for the old one because there was so much unpaid debt for these groups.
I would need to see the percent of unpaid debt that comes from illegal immigrants in comparison to just dudes who don't want to pay their medical debt. This is a pretty common thing, as I understand it, for U.S. citizens to get some kind of medical coverage and then just not pay your debt. Say you can't pay
you're
it.
telling me
in
that
fact,
illegal
I've literally been told that like that's the meta. That's what you're supposed to do. When you get like a medical operation, you say, "Oh, I'm really broke. I can't pay it," and then like the hospital will go like, "Bro, can you just give us like 1/4 of the amount of money?"
Deflection. We know illegal immigrants are a big portion of this medical debt, though. So I mean,
I actually don't. I don't know if that's true. Is that true?
I mean, it is true. There's a major portion.
I would love to see that. A big portion of all medical debt in the United States is illegal immigrants.
Every claim I make, I've had to provide sources for. I haven't seen any sources from any of your claims.
You haven't asked me.
Well, that's how it works when you're making the affirmative claim.
You say that, but he's made a lot of affirmative claims.
Okay, ask me something and I'll get you a link for it.
I keep providing them repeatedly. I mean, I'm getting tired of just having to look back through my logs of things that have happened from years ago. Like, you know, it's just ridiculous.
Gibbs, what source do you want from him?
I mean, it's not important. I thought we were here to talk. I'll tell you. Hold on. Wait. I thought we were here to talk in good faith about it. I'm not sitting here asking him source bro. I'm taking him at his word that he's being honest for the most part with what he said is read. That's what y'all don't do as a damn here. Y'all go with source.
Wait, to be clear, you said that the photo that I was referencing was fake, and it was not.
And I admitted I hadn't seen the second one, and I said what the context was. It was community notes, and I didn't dispute that it could be wrong. I said, okay, cool. This is all I said. I didn't fight you on it, did I?
Well, I'm saying you made a claim, and I backed up my claim with the separate source. That's what I did.
I'm happy for that. That's what you're supposed to do.
Okay, so the claim that
it's a very cool meta debate.
And I also didn't die on the hill about it either. I didn't die on the whatever. It's fine. Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's move on. And I just one of the things that I'm trying to kind of bring this back to, right, is the idea of the LA protests and the other protests. We have another protest coming up on this weekend, the No Kings protest. First of all, do you have any thoughts on that, Gibbs, that you'd like to share? Anything you want to talk about regarding that? Do you have any concerns, worries?
Yeah, I got concerns. I mean,
Please,
I want to say
ahead.
2 things. One, I don't know. I think we're about the same age, Wick. I don't know what y'all's ages are, but I remember like growing up and
I'm
like
41.
Yeah, so you're a little older, I think, but not much.
I'm 17.
Looking good, Wick. Looking good. But listen, I remember going up.
Anyway, go ahead, please.
I remember going and watching like. Do you remember going to like one of the like military like parades? They would have festivals on the bases. They would do like Blue Angel shows. The Blue Angels would perform at like random like things. Like on one hand, I like the idea of bringing some pride back with the military parade. I think it could be fun. Like be able to take your kids out and go see all the cool fucking army shit. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to see all the cool army toys, but that's just cool as fuck. Like it was cool, right? I don't know. And like I get the idea of people like, oh, maybe optics bad, whatever. And I get it. And you know what? I'm happy if these people want to protest, let them protest as long as they do it peacefully in designated areas. It looks like this Kings group actually has done the paperwork the right way because they planned it in 2,000 cities, and it looks like they have permits in I think most of them, right? So like that's the way they should be doing it. And I think hopefully they're good actors and they're not like trying to like stir shit up. And I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt until I see otherwise. So yeah, good, protest the right way, get the permits, plan it out, announce it. Like this has been far enough planned. I think it was a good way for them to do it. I think hopefully as long as nothing bad happens. Now I do have concerns because like I said, like y'all said, yeah, it's mostly peaceful, but I think there's still a significant number of people that are bad actors, and I have concerns it's going to escalate nationwide. And I think that is something we should all be concerned about. I don't really know why we're going to sit here and argue about whether it's mostly peaceful or not. But if you're at big protests where 1,000 people are doing bad things, that's 1,000 people is a lot of people doing bad shit. Like even if the protest is 100K, like I think this is something we need to actually realize is a problem. And I think it's reasonable if you're a taxpayer to want, possibly National Guard troops to protect your business if local PD is not up to it.
Okay, so to at least answer a part of or to comment on a part of your statement, the reason why I kept harking on mostly peaceful is because this is a very, very, very common right-wing narrative. The idea that it's like mostly peaceful. No, we can establish that it is mostly peaceful. And the establishment of that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have law enforcement. Like I said at the opening, I commend the LAPD and the arrests that they've made. If it comes to my knowledge that the people that the LAPD are arresting are not being prosecuted, that would be I would say on the merits of that should almost be protested. That's insane. But I just want to say, based on the numbers that I've seen and the narrative that's being shown, mostly peaceful makes sense because it is a counter narrative to the one that is unjustly being painted by conservatives. That being said, I don't know if this is the scope of the conversation for Gibbs, for us to have this conversation about, do you think that the protests themselves are is a justified cause? Do you think it is a righteous cause to protest against the manner in which the deportations have been conducted?
What do you mean by like a righteous cause? Like
it's justified. It's justified.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not in favor of it, okay, so the election was what, like 51% It's close, right? I don't know what it was off the top of my head, right? It's close. It's
sure.
It's basically 50-50 with a slight majority one way, right? And when I look at it, it's absolutely, if your policies aren't put in place that you want and somebody's doing the opposite of policies, it's absolutely, I would say it's even the most American thing you can do is to go and protest in a peaceful way. Like I think that's justified. If they're doing it peacefully, I don't have a problem with peaceful protesters, right? Like I have a problem with certain things where it's like you're like do it out of the way. Like I mean, if you're gonna go to a college campus and they usually have designated areas to protest, but if you're gonna stop people from going to class that paid for that class, don't like that, right? That's bad. If we're gonna go have a designated protest in a designated area about something you think is just, even if it's something stupid that I don't care about it, you don't care about it, and only 5 people care about it, you absolutely should have the right to do that. You should do that. I think it's patriotic as fuck. Now, when you start damaging other people's shit that are taxpayers, that's a problem. And
Wick, did you want to get in before I follow up?
Did we cut out? Yeah. I just am really curious then. When Trump says that protesters for the military parade will be met with heavy force, do you think that's a positive thing? Do you think that Trump was okay when he said that? Was it okay for him to say that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it could be okay. I just don't know.
Hold on, how is it okay? How is it okay?
It's because it's a deterrent. Like I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to have the reason why he's saying is we've seen some of these protests get violent.
Do you think it's appropriate for the president of the United States to deter protesters by threatening protesting will be met with heavy force?
Yeah, because obviously the permits are probably not done. If it's protesting outside your permits, I think then you're committing illegal actions. Like I don't think that he's saying, oh, if you protest peacefully, you have like a sign or something, he's going to get you. It's going to be if you're over here trying to like block parade or trying to do some violent shit. That's the implication I've gotten from it. I mean, can you prove that's not what he's trying to say?
I mean, he didn't say that. He said protesters will be met with heavy force.
And
that's what he said.
He said it, tweeted it. How did he say this?
For those people that want to protest, I'm quoting here. Okay. For those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. Unquote.
Okay. And so my question is, do these people have permits to protest that area on the parade day?
I imagine some of them are still submitting for permits and stuff. I don't think just...
So, if he has permits and they do it in that area, then bad. But if it's protesters in areas where they're trying to do the parade and it's like, clearly,
the reason,
the problem.
The reason I'm asking you this, the reason I'm asking you this, and we're going to tie it back to the LA riots, right? Is that some have claimed that him threatening to call up the Marines, which he eventually did, him threatening to call up the National Guard, which he eventually did not deter.
You think it escalated?
Simply escalated it. What would you say to those claims?
I find that not to hold too much water, in my opinion. I think that there is something to be said for like heavy shows of force to prevent things going forward being bad. Like, right, like if you come in and you overkill something, like bring in a ton of people and stop it like in its place, you know, it's gonna be like, okay, this is not gonna turn out of control. Sometimes doing too many piecemeal things, kind of like where it's a back and forth, will escalate it. I'm not sure. My issue is I'm not sure he sent enough people in to be like an instant, we're quelling this problem right now kind of thing, as opposed to like he just sent a few in and it's going to keep escalating. I could be maybe sold on that, but the idea that sending them in at all is an escalation while businesses are burning and the LAP is having to pull back from areas, no, I don't see it as an escalation at that point. I see it as needed help. You know, and maybe he should have sent more. Like, honestly, I think we're going to squash it completely. I think that's a big thing. So,
Okay, go ahead, Ahrelevant, if you want to respond to any of that.
I mean, you say needed help. As per my knowledge, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, and please do. The Marines can't even help. They literally, the Insurrection Act would have to be invoked. They can't even help. They can just stand there and look pretty.
they can handle logistic stuff. They can handle security for the federal buildings. There's all sorts of things they can do. They can just be.
I'm not sure. Can they do that with the law enforcement capacity? Would that count as law enforcement capacity?
I don't know. I'm not a legal expert in that regard. I know that I've seen some people argue that they can protect ICE. It would be how they're deployed, like protect ICE personnel. I'm not sure. I don't know. But I'm not the guy to ask on that.
Either way, like sure, but and you know I'm glad you're not. But the Marines being deployed, I believe, is an escalation. It is a show of force, but it's a show of force that I don't believe is strictly necessary in this situation. I don't see, as the super chatter, call back to that guy, I believe it was a super chatter, Dono, said, like 21 businesses being vandalized is not meriting the Marines. All right, that's a pretty significant escalation of events. And it seems like with the way that the law works and the Insurrection Act needing to be invoked for these people to be operating inside of a law enforcement capacity, and that act not being invoked, seems like the constitutionality of it seems to agree.
Let me ask you a quick question. Do you agree that the Marines are they have a reputation, right? The Marines do?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you think, you mentioned these angsty kids earlier. Say you're an angsty kid. Yep. Do you think the idea of I was a pretty angsty kid. I don't think that if I heard the Marines were coming to town, I think I'd probably be like, you know what? I don't want to fuck with the U.S. Marines, and that's going to eventually eliminate a lot of people from wanting to go do more violence. Do you not see that as a potential deterrent from people wanting to do shit?
It could be, but I could also see that based on the response that these people have had to the National Guard being deployed, I could see it being the exact opposite, because we saw what happened after the National Guard was deployed, which is they just got rowdier. I could totally see a similar thing happen. When Trump announced that he was going to crack down on these protests, they got rowdier.
I mean, well, I guess we'll see. I mean, I feel like hopefully, I think they see it as a deterrent. It's like, hey, you come in here.
I agree with that. I hope they do.
And I think they have the Marines, from what I understand, probably held back by the federal buildings or assisting ICE agents. What I've read a lot, but like I said, not the legal guy. Either way, I think it's more of a hey, don't fuck around. We're not playing kind of thing. Like, we got the Marines here, and hopefully people are like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't go attack that business that's within their cordon. Like,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I kind of wanted to reference back the line of dialogue that I had gone on with the justification, because so given the lack, or I guess we'll start here. Do you agree or disagree that there was numerous people who were deported without due process, Gibbs, like illegally?
Define due process here. Like, what do you like? Give me specifics.
They were not given their required legal hearings to be able to have their case be heard prior to deportation.
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I haven't followed all that too closely. I'm just happy they're getting rid of people fast. They got to go.
You haven't followed Abuego Garcia at all?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one we're gonna die on. This one, okay, yeah, sure, yeah. How's that going?
We don't have to follow this guy. We could follow the.
This is a public one. This is a good one. We sent him away. Now we want to come back, and now he's got 100 charges for human trafficking because he was the American side.
Do you think he was deported illegally?
That was it. I mean, it sounds like maybe a mistake was made. They brought him back, so whatever. Problem solved. He did what you wanted. Once again, the left is still crying about they're getting their way. Even when they win, they're crying.
Wait, is it,
Like, if he was breaking the law, would he have not brought it back at all?
If I steal your stuff and then bring it back to you later, are you just going to be like, well, you brought it back to me?
Are you really making this argument after you just try to justify the vandalizing stuff and going,
I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely curious.
But he literally, so listen, they told him they fucked up. What did he do? He said, okay. And then Trump came back and did exactly what the court said. They followed the court orders. Isn't that what you want?
No, they didn't. Okay. I'm going to assume you don't know the timeline of events. I'm going to assume you don't know the timeline.
Let Gibbs finish and I'll let you respond, Irrelevant. Gibbs finish and Irrelevant.
He's deported, arguably wrongly, right? Cool. The court says he's got to be facilitated to come back. Well, it looks like they got him back here, and now he's facing crimes. I saw that Trump had been requesting to dismiss in that court because now he's here. Whether or not you agree that it was fuck ups at the beginning or not is one thing. Sure, maybe they did fuck up, maybe they didn't. I don't really know. Don't really care because the court told him he had to bring him back. Guess what? They brought him back. Now he's fucking in trial for other shit. Even when you get the thing you want,
you're missing in the middle. This
is Trump bad no matter what he does. We say Trump do something.
No, it's a pretty low bar.
He does it, and he comes back. He does exactly what you want. It's still bad.
Why
he does exactly what you ask him to.
Okay, and then you made your statement. Let me respond. You made your statement. Why is Trump above the law? He's doing illegal stuff, blatantly illegal, not giving these people due process. And it wasn't just him. It was also several different people. But beyond that specific scope, you say the timeline as if he was asked to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia by the courts, and then he was returned. You're missing a massive middle bit there for months, in which they made every single argument of why they can't do it, even though he's the most powerful man on earth, and he's literally friends with the person who can facilitate that. Oh, I can't do anything. My best friend is the guy who's like the warden holding the jail keys. I have no idea. I couldn't possibly return him to the United States. He was obviously lying, but he got returned. He was able to be returned. So you're missing the big bit in the middle where he constantly lied about his ability to do it.
I didn't know that the Supreme Court or the judiciary branch in general could was allowed to negotiate with other countries. Are they? Oh wait, they're not. So whenever you're sitting here saying Trump was doing all these things,
did you say the president can't negotiate with other countries?
That is not what I said. Listen up. I said the judiciary is not allowed to negotiate with other countries. Right? Cool. So
that's why they asked him to facilitate the return.
They go in there and do these things, right? So okay, they asked him to. All right, you said they didn't do it. Guess what? They brought him back. So they went through the legal process. They talked about it, and despite the judiciary not being able to force them to do it, because your argument is basically you should sit SEAL Team 6 in there to get him. It sounds like we're not going to go to war with
He was best friends with the president of the dictator of El Salvador. He was best friends with him. He could have just asked him.
You don't know when negotiations went down. Maybe they're working out some sort of deal. Who knows? El Salvador guy might have been trying to get some. Trump might have been trying to get some. We don't know. You don't know. We don't know what happened in the negotiation. We don't know what happened when they talked.
I know that both him and the president of El Salvador
Garcia is back here now.
There's no way I can return him.
Back here now? Is Garcia back here now?
Garcia is, but not all of the other people who were deported without due process.
Is back here now, so you got what you wanted, and you're still crying about it. What more do you want? Even when you get what you want,
it's still Trump bad. All of the people who were deported without due process should be returned.
Do you think it's a good thing that he listened to the judiciary and got him back? Do you think it's a good thing?
It is good that Abrego Garcia is returned.
Every president presses the law.
No, I'm curious.
Every single one.
Do you think he was the only one deported on that plane?
He followed the law.
Do you think he was the only one deported?
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
I have a question. So, an argument that I heard from people who were concerned about the lack of due process, but are in support largely of deportations. They said that essentially, what if we could do some type of expedited court process, even like a virtual court process? So, for example, if it would cost more resources to fly someone back to the country to have them seen in a court in person, would you be open to remedy the situation where people have already been deported, doing some type of virtual court hearings, and then if it's found that it was unfounded, we bring the people back, and otherwise deportation already happened, and you save time on travel, basically.
The main issue that I would have with that is CCOT. I doubt you're going to be able to have a good meeting with your attorney and be able to really, build your case, which you would be able to do instead of the United States. But
didn't we get? Like wasn't there a U.S. Congressperson who Went down to meet Garcia in person.
Yeah, but I don't believe he met him in CCOT. I might be wrong. He met him when he got transferred out of CCOT.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
I don't know
about that.
the specifics of the congressional meeting. It's been too long.
Well,
but I
to
will
your
say,
point, his
go ahead.
BFF being the one facilitating it. So what if his BFF would allow in lawyers to facilitate
sure.
this type of thing?
Sure. I would say at that point, that's, it's better than nothing. I mean, as far as I understand, you could do virtual immigration hearings and we do them domestically.
Here.
So I don't see why it would be a super significant thing. Maybe it would just be like a show of good faith to return them to the country. I don't think it's super
I was going to
necessary.
say a good faith remedy. I agree. Yeah.
Two things though. I think I agree with. I disagree with Ahrelevant here, and I disagree with you as well, Tally. And I'll just tell you why. When the government violates someone's rights, which I do believe they did, and with not just Garcia but with several others, it could be up to hundreds of others. We just don't know, because a lot of the people who've been sent to CCOT have not been allowed to talk to their lawyers or anyone, right? So we just don't know. When the government egregiously violates people's rights, they should be punished for that. They should have to pay a price. It should have to cost them more money, time, resources to bring people back and do it the right way. It should be burdensome upon them, because this incentivizes them not to keep doing it. If behavior that is rewarded is repeated, and if we make it easy, if we make it painless to violate people's rights, they will continue to do so. So I would disagree with both of you here on that. But I did want to ask.
Can I ask you a question real quick with that?
Please, go ahead.
So I have an issue with maybe part of what you just said, but I think we can maybe build a bridge, right?
Sure.
Okay. So you said it should be punished. It should be like whatever. Like there should be like costly. Now, I have a problem with it being costly for the reason that it's going to be taxpayers in the end that are having to pay more for this. Now, I think that we can build a bridge in this aspect. What if there was a civil thing where people that did this as a government had to answer to like, oh, you did this, and then we made a civil pathway where these people could try to get restitution financially from the actual people that committed the actions of like deporting themselves or something. What do we think about that?
If we kind of removed qualified immunity from ICE officers and others, and they could be sued by these people, I'd be okay with that. Yeah.
I would be open to considering stuff like that, because once again, I'm not a diehard government, back to blue light, situations guy either. So like
my problem, and we do have a lot of super chats, and I do want to get to them. I don't want to interrupt the back and forth too much, right? But my problem overall, right, with that is that a lot of these things are coming from the top down. So the ICE agents and the other people who are doing these things because they are being ordered to by the government. Stephen Miller and others are telling them, this is what you need to do. This is a policy. And if you don't do that, if they don't meet quota, and we have incidences of this happening, of ICE officers resigning because they refuse to punish their subordinates for not meeting this quota and not engaging these things, right? We have evidence of this happening. I don't know if it's the ICE agents that are the root of the problem here, right? It's the policy that's the problem. But let me read these super chats, and a couple of them are addressed to you, Gibbs, so don't worry. You'll all get some chances here. Let me get... Okay, $2 from Cameraman 502 says, won't that just encourage illegal immigration, in regards to Ahrelevant saying we need to provide a pathway to citizenship? So that is something I think is worth a response. Like, won't doing that just encourage more people to jump the border? If they know if they get here, if they're good.
Do I respond now or wait till you're through?
Yeah, just respond now, because I think
I believe that it could. It could encourage people to potentially jump the border. I think it absolutely could. And then they're just like, hey, I'll jump the border and I'll not commit any crimes after that to be able to do this, right? I think the reason why, or the remedy for that, is to figure out ways to be able to process people legally faster. Because I think the reason why people are jumping the border isn't because, I jumped the border and, I haven't caused any crimes or whatever. It's because the legal process takes such a long time. And also, I would say that my specific statement for like, you haven't caused any crime, you've been here for X, Y, and Z, is that X, Y, and Z isn't like 3 months. You've been here for like 12 years. You're effectively a part of like the community. Maybe you have kids, you have maybe property, you've been paying taxes for a really long time. That's what I would say. Not like, oh, I've been here for 3 months and haven't caused trouble. Bro, I don't remember the last law I broke for the last 6 years. Do you think that I should be awarded that same like levy, like that same liberty? Like, no. Okay. So it's an amount of time in correspondence with the good behavior.
Okay.
So that's what it would be.
£5 from Jacob Buckingham. Again, the most English name I've ever heard. To say this: thank God I am not American and I don't share a country with people like Gibbs. I would game end. Thank you for the £5.
Well, hey, listen, 1776.
That $20 from Alexander Rin to say, at Gibbs, how would you feel if the friend you mentioned earlier was treated like Garcia, wrongly deported without process, imprisoned in a labor camp, ignored for months, and brought back and charged with every crime there is?
Sucks to suck. I mean, it would be bad. I'd feel bad for him. Like, I mean, would I feel good for him? No, I wouldn't feel good. Would I be upset? Yeah, maybe would I try to lobby a local congressperson I know or a local politician I know? Absolutely. I would definitely try to help him out. But, like,
protest?
I'd be, maybe, who knows? I'm not opposed to protesting. This is just a case-by-case thing. Yeah, I'd be sad about it. What do you want me to say? I wouldn't be sad about it. But no, I'm not going to be sad about overall them getting the job done on the deportations because it needs to be done. Like, yeah, it's going to be messy sometimes. And I hope that gets cleaned up. But, like, overall, I'm a fan of it. Yeah, it'll suck for that guy, though.
$10 from the Trib 1 to say, Gibbs is saying he's okay with illegal immigrants being deported illegally, but would Gibbs be okay with himself being deported illegally, as long as it meant at least all illegals would be deported as well? So would you martyr yourself if you could guarantee that every illegal in the country gets deported, right? But you yourself would have to also be deported. Would you throw yourself upon the pyre?
Sure, as long as I got to keep my assets, or at least got some cash for them, then yeah, absolutely, I'll be good.
Okay.
I'll enjoy living in Mexico. I'll be rich as fuck. Maybe I'll move to Guatemala, and it'll be like I'll be a billionaire in Guatemala.
What if you got sent to CCOT? I'm just curious.
I mean, I guess then I'll be legendary for killing all the illegals out, and I'll be remembered. Remember me, I guess whatever. At least my legacy will live on.
And to be clear, I don't think that they are able to keep their assets when they get deported. I think they're being stripped of their assets. But I'll
probably be fine either way.
I don't know. Okay, $10 from Ben Riley to say, the lack of intellectual rigor and moral consistency from Gibbs is astounding. Imagine if doctors did this. Well, we took out the right organ eventually. Who cares if it was in the wrong place? Thank you for the $10. $5 from the Trib 1 to say, by the way, I don't remember Grid or Gibbs finding where that 350 billion number Trump repeated for Ukraine came from.
I don't know why they keep saying, hold on. I never made that claim. That was Grid. Let's make that very clear. I even said that then. That I didn't
Wait, so you agree Trump was lying about it?
I disagreed with the claim at the time. I even said that. I told you.
You agree Trump was lying about it?
Listen, I said I'm not sure how they came to that number. I don't even remember, but I know that I didn't agree with that number. Y'all aren't gonna get me on that one. Grid, he can stand on his own feet about it. I never.
Okay, and honestly, the Ukraine stuff's beyond the scope of my conversation for today, so we can move past that. And then $50 from Alexander Rin at the big 50. Thank you for $50 to say, if I can request an answer to this from Gibbs, and you can for $50, says, if Garcia was actually innocent of the crimes accused, guilty of only of coming into the country running from a gang that wanted to kill him unjustly, would you be bothered enough to want to slow it down?
No. Sorry. We got to get it going. It's got to go.
Okay. What would be the point where you'd be like, okay, this is too much?
I'm gonna be honest. I know that people throw the word fatigue around a lot, but I've had friends dying because of cartel violence my whole life. This is a problem, and people don't realize how messy it's going to be. Right? We all care about Lupita, the hotel cleaner. Right? She's a nice lady. She never breaks the law. Well, the cartel stole her social info. Maybe she pays them a certain percentage every month to keep her whatever. Then what happens is she'll be fine for 20 years. Then one day they need to kill somebody at a hotel. They know they're staying there. there, and they'll call Lupita up and be like, "Give us the key." Like this sounds like the battle for a bad movie.
Wouldn't it be
but this
better to go
happens
after the cartel and not the immigrants?
Sure, I understand that, but you have to take out the organization. This is like a problem that's consistent. It's not they're intertwined. I agree. Go after the cartel.
So
it's
why
great,
go after
it's
Letitia
a
or whatever you
multi-level.
said?
It's a multi-level issue, and like it's also
Yeah,
there's also the
I go after the innocent person.
The free trade aspect to it, where people are paying labor lower. There's the wage slavery aspect of this. It's multi-level issues, and y'all are trying to boil it down to like, oh, these people are just fantastic. Yeah, there's good people caught up in bad situations all over the world. But I'm sorry, the way we solve this problem is we deport the illegal ones, we get a secure wall, and then we have immigration reform to get people in here the right way, and we open it up more. That's what we have to do. This is what I've advocated from day one, and y'all are sitting here going, oh, now we're getting the balls to do it. Oh, it's scary. Oh, no. And they're protesting. Cool, let them protest. Don't destroy the fucking city, though. I don't know why that's crazy. Oh, outrageous, bro. Outrageous.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all the super chats for now. So continue. Go Ahrelevant.
So I think we could target the cartels without kicking out every single person. But nonetheless, it feels like we were getting to something substantial there, but you seem to have an issue with Abrego Garcia. We could talk about the the gay, was it a hair salon or a dude who does nails? I forgot who it was. It was the gay dude who was deported without due process. If you want to use that. Okay, nonetheless, if there are people
Why
being deported.
Why wasn't he the face? I mean, don't you think he would have been a more sympathetic? This is a problem that the left has all the time, is picking really unsympathetic figures to be the martyrs of their cause. It's like reminds me of the Jacob Blake situation. If what I've heard about Abrego Garcia is correct, it reminds me of the Jacob Blake situation a little bit. Everyone coming out to defend a guy who might be really a shitty, violent guy. And even shitty, violent people are entitled to due process, but wouldn't it just be smarter to pick, like you're saying, the gay hairdresser with the tattoos that said like mommy and daddy or something?
Yeah, it would be, I think, smarter optically to do that. I believe the reason why people got behind Abrego Garcia is because of, I believe, the timing, as well as at the time of their deportation, there wasn't so many like allegations. Obviously, when he was deported, like conservatives media ran triple sextuple overtime to be able to try to find any dirt on this guy they could possibly find. And then, after that, it just kind of stuck. And then it was like, oh yeah, well, even potentially bad people deserve due process. But yeah, like there was dozens of people who were deported without due process. This idea in and of itself makes, in my opinion, the LA protests justified. Even if that was exclusively the only reason why, but it isn't. There's multiple different reasons why. People have their various reasons for going out there. One of my criticisms even of the protests is that they don't really have a unified message. We know from history that having protests without a unified message is quite bad for the protests, because we can't really make significant demands of their federal or local governments. So we'll see how this goes. But
the Garcia, just to answer the Garcia question of why it was the face, is because the Trump's lawyers at the time said they fucked up.
Oh yeah, that's fair enough too. Yeah.
And this is why people focused on it, because it was an admitted mistake. It wasn't something that was alleged. They admitted, like, we messed up. And that's where people were like, okay, well, what are you going to do to fix it? And then Trump was like, I'm not. And that's why that came about. And that's why we got that whole thing. Okay, we are kind of winding down here. I do have one more question for Gibbs. And I don't know if Tali has one last question for Ahrelevant, but then after I ask these questions, we have the back and forth. We'll kind of close it down. And to be clear, gang, we're not ending the stream. I'm going all night, baby, because me and Tali's going to talk a little bit after this. Ooh, yeah. And then I got the Raging Tomato. I'm going on her show and co-hosting, and you guys can call in and yell at me and yell at her, and it should be fun. Okay, my question for Gibbs. Do you not worry that by lowering the bar for calling up the Marines specifically, I'm not talking about the National Guard, I'm talking the Marines specifically, and sending the Marines to LA, that this might be a new precedent that is used by future administrations that may not be very, that may be much more liberal or much more leftist? to call in the military to break up otherwise controlled protests? Do you not worry that this is an escalation that would set a precedent, is what I'm asking.
Well, yeah, bro. I definitely am worried. I'm worried about a lot of things, right? Like, yes, I am worried that is a problem and a precedent that whatever. Like, I don't know if you realize this, but the Texas Nationalist Party got absorbed into the Texas Republican Party, and the Texas Republican Party is official stance. It's something they thought about is prepare for worst case scenario and maybe go back to like sympathetic to like become the nation again, right? And so when you sit here, this is a Texan idea. Hey, we don't trust big government, be ready for the worst. Yeah, I absolutely hear you. And you go, hey, this is a bad precedent. It's terrifying. It's awful. And I'm kind of of the opinion, though, to where
so why are you supporting it?
Hold on, I'm about to tell you. Because I think that it's such an egregious problem that at this point, even though it's a scary precedent, I'm willing to accept it because it's rioting, it's insurrection on a wild level, and we cannot have another $20 billion kind of BLM riot thing happen. This needs to be quelled immediately. And it's also, it's like, every time this is happening, every single time, we need a show of force. And as long as the Marines aren't deployed to actively turning into kill squads, they're doing logistics or defending some federal buildings, I think this is a good thing because who wants to fuck it with the Marines?
Do you think the Marines should have been deployed on January 6th?
Maybe. I mean, sure. If they, honestly, yeah, probably. I think they should have been deployed into the Capitol building on January 6th. No, I'm not a fan of people going in and tearing up the Capitol building either. Like, I don't know why. Like, this is not the gotcha people think. Where like, whenever they kind of
because Trump pardoned all of them. It is
cool. I mean, okay. Listen. Oh my God, just be good faith. Listen, Biden pardoned his son. You know what? I sat there and told everybody. It's crazy that people are upset about this. No, hold on. That people are upset about this. I'd absolutely pardon my kids. If I was the president, you're lying. If you say you're the president and you wouldn't pardon your kid to say, give me a break. That's half the reason to be president. Nah,
well, you brought up Biden. What I'm talking about is Trump pardoning
my point is this,
all of those violent criminals.
Biden, cool. And who knows who Biden pardoned because he was had dementia and they were using auto pen. I don't give a shit. It's not the dunk you think this is. I don't give a shit. Presidents are going to pardon all sorts of people all the time. That's what they do. They pardon the people that are favorable optically. That's what Trump pardoned 2 rappers recently.
Was it legitimate to pardon all of the January 6th protesters? Was it legitimate?
Did you like that? Were you a fan of that shit? No. Did you like he pardoned the rappers?
I don't
why
care
are we
about
asking about pardoning the rappers?
Oh, so then exactly. What do you care? Trump's pardoned some people who are good optically for him to pardon. What's your point?
I'm asking you, was it legitimate to pardon all the January 6th violent criminals?
But yeah, because he's the fucking president. Any pardon he issues is legitimate, unless he's got dementia and doesn't. He's not actually doing it.
Legitimate as in justified. You know what I'm talking about. You want to talk about bad faith?
Since my justification is that they're the fucking president, and if they want to pardon someone for optics,
Joe
they can
Biden
do it.
Could pardon. So let's say if Joe Biden was president when Epstein was put on trial and he pardoned him, you would have been fine with that?
I mean, I would have been happy about it, yeah, but I would have said, cool, tough fix.
Okay, are you unhappy about Trump pardoning the January 6ers?
No, I don't give 2 fucks.
Okay, yeah, all right. So I don't give a fuck what you have to say about the violent shit going on in LA. You don't care about the part. That is so fucking. I don't care. You're like, what? I'm expected to take your opinion on the violent shit going on in LA, but all of the fucking violence that happened on January 6th, they all get pardons and you don't care?
It was handled on January 6th. It was 3 hours. These guys are burning up businesses left and right.
Okay, Tali, do you have anything for Ahrelevant before we get to closings and things like that? Or Gibbs,
no.
For that matter. Okay, no.
No.
Okay, gang, this has been a great discussion. Again, we're not ending the stream, but we're not Hamas. We won't keep these individuals hostage, but we do appreciate them coming by. So we're going to give them each closing thoughts, closing statements, and we have links to their stuff in my YouTube description, but they can tell you other places they can find you. And please, please, please go and make sure you give them a follow, give them a sub, whatever, and follow their stuff. They've taken their time out of their night to be with us on the Wick and Tali show, right? And surely you can reward them with a follow, and we do appreciate you. And again, remember, like the streams, all that good stuff on my end too. Keep giving me your money. I like it. Okay, we're going to start with Gibbs. We're going to give Ahrelevant last word. Gibbs, closing thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, don't destroy property, and then you won't get the Marines called on you. Pretty simple. I mean, that's really the bottom line. People are destroying property. There's large enough numbers of people doing it that we have to like take a show of force. As for me, I'm Admiral Gibbs. You can find me everywhere as Admiral Gibbs on pretty much. And tonight I'm going to be on Grid's Gauntlet. I think probably as a judge or just hanging out there. And then we'll probably have a slosh cast. And on Sunday, check this out, guys. We always talk politics, and it's very stressful. Sometimes it's just good to kick back and have some fun. Coach Kurt's hosting a dating show as he does every Sunday, and I do the Backrooms Love Island podcast host. It's really fun. It's lighthearted and very comedic, and sometimes just have a laugh, enjoy yourself. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's good times. Y'all should check it out. And thank you so much, Rick, for having me. Tally, thank you for being here, moderating the role. This was fun. It was very fiery. Enjoyed it. Good times. Hope to come back soon.
Wait, you watch Love Island?
Yeah, fuck yeah, bro.
Based.
Oh, look, we're having some bridge buildings over Love Island. I have never even heard of that show, but fair enough.
Come on.
Irrelevant.
So good,
what do you got?
Yeah, my name is Ahrelevant on all of the platforms. So sorry, I'm gonna head back a little bit here to you, Gibbs, even though we had a moment. I personally do not take anybody seriously who claims that the January 6 pardons were justified, who complains ever about violence, especially against property or riots or looting. I won't ever take you seriously if you don't vehemently condemn the pardons of the January 6 violent criminals. But beyond that, I would say that we have very significant common ground on getting the violence in LA, getting all these people arrested. These people should be arrested. We need to take a very strong and firm stance. You're going to probably have different reasons than me. Not only just that way we can keep the community safe, but also those people give people like who are actual peaceful protesters a horrible name. They give bad optics. They also put me in a position where I have to fucking look like could be defending their actions. It's ridiculous. I hate it. And I don't like them. Nobody really likes them, except for themselves. They love themselves so much. They need to be arrested. We need to come down on the hard. But I also think we need to come down on the police officers who are ego tripping really hard, like the one who shot at the press lady. Like that, we need to come down on those people hard. Right now is a very good time for a strong show of force when it comes to law and order. So that's my opinion. The LA protests are justified. There's been an unprecedented lack of due process for undocumented immigrants, and even the rounding up of U.S. citizens. They're kind of shooting and then asking questions later. It's totally illegitimate. I support the LA protests, not the riots. Ahrelevant on all platforms.
Check them out, gang. Thank you for being here. Any last words, Tali, for either of these?
I think this was a fun conversation. I appreciate you both for being here. I'm excited to talk shit about you guys with Wick once you guys leave.
That'll be fun.
Mostly kidding.
No, mostly. Okay, we're going to let you guys go. And so, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good one.